Chapter 1585. The experts of the 100 tribes discussed in hushed whispers. At this time, Yixian suddenly grabbed the jade bottle and stuck his finger into it. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, unable to react. Why would a person commit suicide for no reason? But when they saw that Yixian was fine, they were even more shocked. The bald old man with the first-degree Undying Soul Realm cultivation was killed in a second. But Yixian with an 8th-degree Undying Soul Realm cultivation was not dead? Not only that, Yixian even sucked the poison mist into his mouth under their watchful gazes. What the F***ck? Everyone jumped in fright. Alright, this poison is useless against me, Yixian said calmly. The entire hall was silent. The poison mist that even the cat ancestor did not dare to touch was swallowed by Yixian. That bald old man also seemed to be immune. What was going on? Could it be because of his bloodline? You're really not afraid? The cat ancestor asked in disbelief. That's right, it has no effect on me. Not only that, my blood might have some antidote effect. However, I suggest that those with a 3rd-degree Undying Soul Realm cultivation and below avoid it. Yixian said slowly. I still have some poison mist here. Who wants to try? The cat ancestor asked. The entire 100 Beasts hall was silent for a few seconds. Finally, Husong stepped out from behind Yixian saying, Castellan, let me try. I happen to have a 3rd-degree Undying Soul Realm cultivation, and I still have a soul seed. With a soul seed, even if an accident happened, it would be fine. He could even use the soul seed to revive. The reason Husong stood up now was to repay Yixian for saving the Fox clan that day. Of course, the two were not equal. Yixian did not hesitate, filling a blood bottle for Husong. The cat ancestor also threw the poison mist bottle over. Husong held the poison mist bottle in one hand, and Yixian's blood bottle in the other. After 3 seconds of silence, he drank Yixian's blood bottle in one gulp. Then he put his hand into the poisonous gas bottle. Although a 3rd-degree Undying Soul Realm martial artist would be poisoned to death, but this poisonous fog was very little, so they weren't afraid. 1 second, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. The 100 Beasts hall was silent for a few seconds, but Husong did not show any abnormality. It's really effective. It seems that we're saved this time. Hu Yingguo's eyes widened in excitement. There's no rush. Let's see how long my blood immunity lasts, Yixian suddenly reminded. He was immune to the poisonous fog, but Husong did not have the immortal phoenix bloodline. Therefore, he estimated that the blood could only protect Husong temporarily. Once the effect of the blood was gone, Husong would still be poisoned. 5 minutes later, Husong raised his eyebrows and quickly extended his hand. Then he quickly took the health potion from Yixian and drank it in one gulp. 1 blood potion about 5 minutes. That's enough. Hu Yingguo nodded in satisfaction. Although they were old monsters who had lived for tens of thousands of years, and Hu Yingguo had lived for tens of thousands of years, 5 minutes was too long for them in battle. Since that's the case, then I'll mass-produce blood potions. As long as you're not afraid of the poisonous fog, then you can fight against the 5 poison sect, Yixian said. Hearing this, hundreds of people smiled. If it was a head-on battle, they were not afraid of the 5 poison sect. We can't expose this trump card directly. We have to plan well. Once it's exposed, we have to catch the 5 poison sect unprepared and annihilate all 5 poison beasts. Bear King said. That's right. The Ox Emperor nodded and said, Every family, report all the 3rd-degree Undying Soul Realm martial artists. We'll come up with a plan. This time, not only do we have to destroy the 5 poison beasts, we have to kill our way into the 5 poison territory and teach the 5 poison sect a lesson. Immediately, the 100 Beasts hall started to get busy. As for Yixian, he was busy filling the blood potions. Little brother, you've helped us a lot this time. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid we'd be helpless and could only sit and wait for death. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to tell me. Hu Yingguo walked up and said to Yixian. Yixian naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. He directly replied, I can also participate in this battle, but I need a large amount of heavenly treasures. Ores and heavenly beast corpses are also fine. Ores? My barbarian bull clan has plenty, Ox Emperor said. My barbarian bear clan has a big appetite. There are many heavenly beast corpses. If we can win this battle, it won't be a problem for us to abstain from eating for a year. Bear King added. Thus Yixian was naturally satisfied. At this time he was already at the 8th degree Undying Soul realm. He estimated that this time he could directly break through to the 9th degree Undying Soul realm. At that time, not to mention the 5 poison beasts, even the 5 poison sect would be destroyed. In the next few days Yixian continuously bled, directly filling hundreds of thousands of blood potions. As for his reward, it was delivered on the 4th day. At this time, in a palace of the Fox clan. With so many antidotes, it's enough to drink continuously for a year. Hu Yingbo couldn't help but say, if it's not enough, I can fill more. Yixian said, no need. Every night, many people will die. We've already planned to act tomorrow. Hu Yingbo shook his head and said, handing Yixian a yin and yang ring. Inside was Yixian's reward. If it was all exchanged for heavenly treasures, it would be enough to create several 3rd degree Undying Soul realm experts. Yixian took a look at the yin and yang ring, the corner of his mouth slightly raised, then said, what's your plan? Of the 5 poison beasts, 4 will be dealt with by our fox, bear, ox and cat clans respectively. The last one will be eliminated by the other clans. Hu Yingbo said. The 5 poison beasts were comparable to 4th degree Undying Soul realm experts, but there were definitely experts of the 5 poison sect beside them, so it wouldn't be that easy to succeed. In that case, when the time comes, I'll go with your Fox clan. As for Luoluo, we'll talk about it after dealing with the 5 poison sect. Yixian said. Luoluo still had half a year's time, and it would only take a few days to deal with the 5 poison beasts, so they could still afford to wait. Then Hu Yingbo brought Yixian's antidotes back to the city of 100 beasts, then distributed them. This time there were a total of 70 people going to the front line to fight. These people were gathered by the 100 tribes, at least 3rd degree Undying Soul realm experts, and 10 of them were 4th degree Undying Soul realm experts. In addition, the 5th degree Undying Soul realm expert cat ancestor was among them. As for the Bear King and Ox King, the 2 city lords, they stayed in the city of 100 beasts because they suspected that there were many people of the 5 poison sect in the 100 beasts region. Chapter 1586. During this time, the 100 beast region had lost a lot of territory. People were dying all the time, and the poisonous fog was expanding all the time. They couldn't delay any longer. Before the operation, everyone from the 100 tribes had moved to the city of beasts. First, they were afraid that the 5 poison sect would attack again. Second, they were guarding the city of beasts. With so many tribes gathered together, even if the 5 poison sect sent out all of their forces, they couldn't do anything to the city of beasts. Very soon a day had passed. This time the Fox tribe sent out 10 Undying Soul Realm cultivators, as well as Hu Yingbo and the other 3 Undying Soul Realm cultivators. As for Yixian, he blended in with the Fox tribe's team. This time we'll be teleported to the place from that day. That used to be our territory, but now it's been invaded by the 5 poison sect, so we'll be entering the enemy's territory. Be very careful. Before the teleportation, Hu Yingbo said to everyone, the 5 poison sect wouldn't have thought that they would be teleported directly to a poisonous fog area. Even if the teleportation formation was discovered, it would be fine. However, just in case, the old tree was the first to scout the way. This time the old tree walked around for a long time. After confirming that there was no ambush, he transmitted back. Young master, everything is normal. There's no ambush there. Everyone can get ready. Yixian said to the others. Okay. Hu Yingbo and the others nodded, then took out the antidote blood bottles and drank them. The landing point was full of poisonous fog, so they had to take the antidote blood bottles first. Otherwise, they would be poisoned as soon as they teleported there. Whoosh! The teleportation formation began to operate. A few seconds later, Yixian and the others were teleported to the 100 Beast region's territory. The landing point was very safe. Because it was underground, the poisonous fog was thinner. Let's go. After landing, Hu Yingbo left without saying anything. The higher they went, the thicker the poisonous fog became. Fortunately, they had taken the antidote blood bottles, or they would all be kneeling on the ground. Soon they reached the surface. At this moment, this place was filled with poisonous fog. Not even a blade of grass grew, and there was no living thing. There aren't many blood bottles. 2 people in a group. Hurry up. Once you find something, release the signal, Hu Yinghua said to the others. The blood bottles they brought this time were only enough for about half a month. After all, one bottle was only enough for 5 minutes. Yes. Hu Song and the other experts nodded and immediately left in pairs. As for the other 2 high-level members of the Fox clan, because they were also at the 4th layer of the Undying Soul realm like Hu Yinghua, they moved alone. As for Yi Xian, there was naturally no need to worry. He, who had received a large amount of rewards, could already break through to the 9th stage of the Undying Fleshly Body realm. At this moment, the chain random mission was finally triggered again. Ding! The 5th round of the chain random quest has been triggered. Annihilate the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Annihilation requirement. Kill the 5 Poison Divine Sect's 5 sect leaders. The system prompted. This time Yi Xian was really lucky. Previously, the chain of random quests usually had around 3 points. And this time he had already reached the 5th ring. It seems that there will be good stuff after completing this chain of random quests. The corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled up slightly. What kind of reward would he get this time? Yi Xian immersed himself in the devouring space after the chain random mission notification ended. He had received quite a lot of rewards previously, so it was time for him to devour them. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is now at the 9th stage of the Undying Fleshly Body realm. Ding! The Huijin spirit has broken through. The host is now at the 2nd stage of the Undying Fleshly Body realm. Ding! Wei Zhentian has broken through. The host is now at the 2nd stage of the Undying Fleshly Body realm. Ding! Ghost Dome Great Emperor has broken through. The host is now at the 2nd stage of the Undying Fleshly Body realm. The 4 of them broke through instantly, and their strength skyrocketed several times. Old Tree, Ghost Dome Great Emperor, and Wei Zhentian could each take on a 5 Poison Beast alone. If they joined forces, not to mention the 5 Poison Beast, even the 5 sect leaders of the 5 Poison Divine Sect would not be able to stop them. Not only that, but they could also use trump cards such as Bladestorm, Unicorn's Descent, Sky-Shattering Meteor Slash. The plan of the City of Beasts was to deal with the 5 Poison Beasts first, but Yi Xian's plan was to uproot the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Let's go. Under Yi Xian's order, Old Tree and the others dispersed directly. Under normal circumstances, the 5 Poison Beasts were at the edge of the poisonous fog, so they had to move in the direction of the City of Beasts. Although Yi Xian was only at the 9th Heaven Undying Physique realm, his detection ability was not inferior to Hu Yinghua and the others. No, his detection ability was stronger than Hu Yinghua's. Sky-traversing Eye of All Things. Yi Xian directly condensed an Eye of All Things, but this Eye of All Things was not discovered because it was still in the poisonous fog. As long as he could find the edge, he would be able to find the experts of the 5 Poison Divine Sect along the edge. Yi Xian used the Eye of All Things to investigate as he hurried along. When he used the Sky-traversing Eye of All Things for the 3rd time, he found the experts of the 5 Poison Divine Sect. This place was about half a day's distance from him. It turned out that the teleportation array's landing point was near the edge of the poisonous fog, which saved him a lot of trouble. Yi Xian immediately rushed over. The expert of the 5 Poison Divine Sect who had been discovered by Yi Xian also noticed the Eye of All Things and immediately snorted. Using the Eye of All Things again? How many times has it been? It's useless even if I descend. What's the use of just one Eye of All Things? This expert of the 5 Poison Divine Sect was at the 3rd Heaven Undying Physique realm, so he directly defeated Yi Xian's Eye of All Things. What made Yi Xian helpless was that his Eye of Space was very close to him because he had just obtained it. Unless he had something like a sky-traversing token, he could not break through the void and arrive directly. However, his sky-traversing Eye was already farther than the Space Fox Zhuang Fei of the 100 Fox Manor. After all, the difference in cultivation level was obvious. Although Zhuang Fei had lived for 10,000 years, he was only at the 9th Heaven Undying Physique realm, while Yi Xian was at the 9th Heaven Undying Physique realm. Yi Xian rushed at full speed and caught up with the expert of the 5 Poison Divine Sect after half a day. He could deal with this level of person by himself. There was no need to summon the Old Tree. Although the poisonous fog affected his vision and prevented him from expanding his spiritual sense, Yi Xian, who had the Eye of Revelation, immediately captured his opponent's figure. Killing Intent Explosion. Void Flame Sword Wave. When Yixian approached, he directly attacked. At the same time, this move was combined with the Eye of Space. Whoosh! Bang! The expert of the 5 Poison Divine Sect, who was at the 3rd Heaven Undying Physique realm, only heard 2 sounds before his head exploded. One of the sounds was the sound of his head exploding. Ding! The host's killing intent has increased. A system notification sounded. Yixian's killing intent had increased by a lot. Chapter 1587. In truth, Yixian had an idea in mind. He wanted to reach the upper limit of killing intent again in the undead physique stage. However, he had already done so many times. This time it would be more difficult. After all, there weren't that many undead soul stage experts for him to kill. Therefore, it would depend on the situation. If he could complete it, it would be best. That way, he would have 7 devour points. After completing the first kill, Yixian turned his head to look again. Since there were people here, there should be others nearby. The most important thing now was to find the 5 Poisons beast. However, before he could take more than a few steps, another system notification sounded. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. It turned out that Old Tree had also discovered the enemy and was killed by a sneak attack. The 5 Poison Sect's experts would never have thought that the 100 Beasts Realm's experts would come out of the poison fog. Young master, I don't have a way to deal with souls. Old Tree transmitted his voice. I'll be right there. Yixian responded. He used the void locator to break through the void and arrived next to Old Tree. Then he used the void flame sword ripple to deal with the escaping soul. He put away the yin and yang ring and returned to his post. However, the 5 Poison Sect's expert that Old Tree ambushed was only at the Undead Soul Stage 2. The 100 Beast Realm sent experts who were at least at the Undead Soul Stage 3, then the Undead Soul Stage 4. Even the Cat Ancestor was sent. However, the 5 Poison Sect had a special way to be immune to the poison fog. They even sent Undead Soul Stage 1 and Undead Soul Stage experts. After all, in the poison fog, they could fight against experts of the 100 Beasts realm. Unfortunately, their plan was going to fail this time. Very quickly, news came from the Ghost Dome Great Emperor in Wei Zhentian, and then Yixian flew over to harvest the soul. Then Yixian used the Eye of Myriad to investigate. After about an hour, he finally found a figure that stood out from the rest. Found it, the 5 Poisons beast. Yixian's eyes flashed, and he immediately rushed in that direction. This 5 Poison beast had several experts of the 5 Poison Divine cult guarding it. Among them, there was also an undying 4th layer expert. Wanting to get rid of it was not that easy. However, with the current strength of Yixian and the others, killing all of these people would not be a problem. In less than half an hour, Yixian caught sight of the 5 Poison beast with his own eyes. At the same time, he sized up the people guarding the 5 Poison beast. Other than the 5 Poison beasts, there was also a 4th level Undying Soul Realm expert, and 5 3rd level Undying Soul Realm experts. This was not weak, but it was nothing to Yixian. Yixian immediately tore through the void and pulled Old Tree and the other 2 over. Go, leave no one alive, Yixian said to the 3 of them. As for him, he did not participate in the battle. Instead, he watched from the outside. Old Tree and the other 2 were all 2nd level Undying Soul Realm experts. Their auras were covered by the poisonous fog, but once they got close, they were still detected by the enemy. It's only 2 2nd level Undying Soul Realm experts. How did they enter the poisonous fog? There are actually people other than us who can move around in the poisonous fog. This is really strange. I'll go and catch them. One of the 5 Poison Divine cult experts growled and immediately turned around to charge. Unfortunately, this person ran into the mouth of the enemy. In just a single exchange, he was instantly killed by Old Shu. Then Yixian, who was in the distance, sent a few void flame sword ripples over, obliterating his soul. Go! The 4th level Undying Soul Realm expert saw this and his expression changed greatly. He immediately roared. The other 4 paused for a moment, then all rushed toward Old Tree and the other 2. To be able to survive in the poisonous fog, and to be able to kill opponents above their level, they must be from the 100 Beasts realm. Although they did not know how they could survive in the poisonous fog, they would know as long as they caught them and interrogated them. However, the 4 3rd level Undying Soul Realm experts could not stop Old Tree and the other 2. Just as they came into contact, another one was killed. This time, the fourth-level Undying Soul Realm expert could not sit still and decided to personally take action. But at this time, shio, 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 a series of sounds broke through the air. The expert's figure paused. Then he quickly dodged the invisible sword chi. He turned around and saw a young man rushing toward him. What was unbelievable was that this young man was only at the 9th level of the Undying Soul Realm. What was wrong with this world? It was fine that a 9th level Undying Soul Realm brat could survive in the poisonous fog, but he actually dared to intercept a 4th level Undying Soul Realm expert. This was 4 levels above him. Your opponent is me, Yixian said slowly. You overestimate yourself. The 4th level Undying Soul Realm expert let out a low shout and directly charged towards Yixian. He was concerned about how someone could survive in the poisonous fog. Coincidentally, there was one in front of him who had no faith. As long as he caught him and forced him to become a believer, then he would know the secret of immunity to the poisonous fog. It was a pity that Yixian was not to be trifled with. Although challenging 4 levels above him was a bit difficult, his mission was only to delay this person for 1 or 2 seconds. It was not too difficult. Originally, the 4th level Undying Soul Realm expert thought that he could capture Yixian in an instant, but then he realized that he was naive. Was Yixian really only at the 9th level of the Undying Soul Realm? Even if he had the Eye of Space, under the circumstances of 4 levels difference, he should be killed instantly. Very quickly, 2 seconds passed, and the 3 Undying 3rd Layer 5 Poison Divine Sect experts in the distance were all killed. Seeing this, Yixian's eyes suddenly flashed and opened a void door in front of him. Shio! 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 Old Tree and the other 2 rushed out of the void door and fought with the 4th level Undying Soul Realm expert. Damn it! The expert of the 5 Poison Divine Sect cursed and glanced into the distance. In the distance was the 5 Poison Beast, but at this time it was not moving at all, as if it had fallen into a deep sleep. Following the expert's gaze, Yixian raised his eyebrows and in the next moment, his heart trembled violently. This 5 Poisons Beast was not sleeping in, but ovulating. Damn, if the 5 Poison Beast reproduces, what will happen? Yixian was shocked. With the Eye of Revelation, he saw that there were already several white eggs under the 5 Poison Beast's big butt. In the eggs was a small 5 Poison Beast. What a coincidence, while you're down, I'll take your life. Yixian did not say anything and directly turned around and rushed toward the 5 Poison Beast. Not good. The 5 Poison Sect expert's expression changed greatly. Just as he wanted to chase, he was stopped by Old Tree and the other 2. Chapter 1588. Fortunately, this expert from the 5 Poison Sect was not an ordinary 4th grade Undying Soul Realm expert. He had already reached the peak. Otherwise, he would have perished. However, even so, he could not hold on for long. Very quickly, Yixian approached the 5 Poison Beast and attacked without hesitation. Whoosh! 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 Streaks of void flame sword waves swept towards the insect eggs. However, the 5 Poison Beast would not watch its children die before they were born. The snake turned around and used its pincers to block Yixian's attack. The 5 Poison Beast was a hybrid of scorpion, snake, centipede, toad, and spider. It was not easy to deal with. Unfortunately, Yixian had another trick up his sleeve. The pincers are quite tough, but can you block this move? Yixian's eyes flashed as he activated the Eye of Space. Swish! A crisp sound rang out as a spatial crack tore open in the area of the insect eggs. In an instant, the insect eggs that were over 10 meters tall were cut in half. The upper half fell into the spatial crack and disappeared. Hiss! When the 5 Poison Beasts saw that its children had all died before they were born, it roared angrily at the sky. Unfortunately, it did not know what the Eye of Space was and did not know how to dodge. Watch how I dismember you. Yixian's eyes widened as cold light flashed continuously as he activated the Eye of Space. Swish! 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 Crisp sounds rang out as the 5 Poison Beast was dismembered, but it was not dead yet. Due to the difference in realm, Yixian could not see through the 5 Poison Beast. However, he knew that there should be a weak point in the 5 Poison Beast's body. Found it. Yixian used the Eye of Revelation and finally found the weak point of the 5 Poison Beast. It was a purplish-black 5 Poison Pearl. As soon as this 5 Poison Pearl appeared, It was directly shattered into two halves by a space crack, and the other half was also missing. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. A system notification sounded, proving that the 5-poison beast was dead. There was still a difference between indestructible heaven-reaching beasts and humans. Heaven-reaching beasts with indestructible heaven-reaching beasts with indestructible bodies. If he didn't die, he could use the undying blood essence to restore his physical body. Once he died, his soul would immediately dissipate. Even if it was an undying soul realm heavenly beast, its soul would be destroyed upon death. Hence, Yixian did not need to do anything. Instead, the Elegy of Souls boosted his strength. When the remaining expert of the 5-poison divine sect saw the 5-poison beast fall, his eyes almost popped out. Each of the 5 poisons beasts was cultivated using millions of offerings and countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures. How could they die just like that? He was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Instead, he himself was going to die. Who are you? This 4th-degree undying soul realm expert of the 5-poison divine sect could not figure out where Yixian and the others had come from. Unfortunately, Yixian was not prepared to answer this question. 3 seconds later, his head was chopped off by the Ghost Dome Great Emperor, then exploded by the old tree. Finally, his soul was obliterated by Yixian. Of the 5 poison beasts, only 4 were left. This 5-poison beast can lay eggs. The smaller ones must be able to spread the poison mist as well. But this time, even the cat ancestor has been mobilized. The other 4 5-poison beasts should not be a problem. Yixian thought to himself. He tore through the air and returned to the transportation array from that day. His plan was to first kill a 5-poison beast, then enter the 5-poison territory. This time his target was the Sky Spider sect. The 100-beast region was responsible for blocking the 5 poison beasts and preventing the poison mist from spreading. As for Yixian, he was to enter the enemy's territory and prepare to uproot them. Soon he was back in the 5 poison territory. Last time he had been chased out of the 5 poison territory. This time he was here for revenge. There were only 5 sects in the 5 poison territory. They were the Golden Toad sect, the Sky Spider sect, the 1,000 Feet sect, the Cthulhuism Society, the Snake Shadow Palace, and some other families. However, these 5 sects had many branches. There was a branch of the Cthulhuism Society at the edge of the 5 poison territory. Yixian immediately rushed over. Along the way, he encountered many experts who wanted to enter the 100-beast region. However, without exception, they were all killed by him. Soon Yixian arrived at the Cthulhuism Society branch. Don't leave a single one. Kill. Yixian summoned the 3 old tree members who were in a hurry. The leader of this Cthulhuism Society branch was only at the Undying Soul second realm. He could not even block one punch from the old tree. Naturally, he would have to bear the brunt of the destruction of his sect. Yixian was currently at the Undying Soul 9th realm. He wanted to reach the upper limit of his killing intent value once in this realm. After exchanging devour points several times, it was not so easy to reach the upper limit of his killing intent value. It was impossible to reach it without killing. Immediately, this Cthulhuism Society branch set off a reign of terror. In less than a minute, the 10,000 people in the branch were all dead. Not only did Yixian obtain a large amount of killing intent value, he also received a lot of Elegy of Souls buffs. The last time he used Death's Gaze twice in a row, the Elegy of Souls buff was directly reduced to 40%. However, now, he could probably quickly make up for it. After destroying this Cthulhuism Society branch, Yixian quickly left. They split into 3 groups and found another branch in less than half a day. This time it was the Golden Toad sect's branch. This Golden Toad sect branch was similar to the previous Cthulhuism Society branch. In less than a minute, it was destroyed by Yixian. Although there were only 4 of them, and one of them was a piercing heaven weapon, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's technique was really too powerful. Now that the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was at the Undying Soul second realm, those who died would be revived by his will of death. If he killed one, there would be one less enemy and one more person on his side. This ability was really too terrifying. Then Yixian quickly left again. This time he wanted to roam the entire 5 poison realm and destroy all the branches. Finally, he would uproot the 5 poison sect to prevent future troubles. The experts of the 100 Beasts region All had half a month's worth of antidotes in their yin and yang rings. However, as long as the 5 poison beast was killed, the poison fog would be dispersed by them, so Yixian was not worried. At this time, he had already arrived in front of a teleportation formation. In just 2 days, Yixian had consecutively destroyed 5 branches of the 5 poison sect. It was simply too fast. The nearby branches were all destroyed, so he had to teleport away and find his next target. However, just as he was about to enter the teleportation palace, whoosh! The teleportation formation suddenly activated. This time someone was teleporting over. Seeing this, Yixian and the others immediately became alert. 99% of the people teleporting over were from the 5 poison sect. After a few seconds, the teleportation formation stopped. Chapter 1589. F***CK 5 Poison Beast? Yixian was shocked. This time there were actually 5 poison beasts and 3 of them in a row. In addition, there were many experts of the 5 poison sect beside the 5 poison beasts. There were 3 Undying Soul Realm experts, more than 10 Undying Soul Realm experts, and hundreds of Undying Soul Realm experts. Even if the cat ancestor was here, he would have to be careful. However, Yixian wasn't afraid. 3 5 poison beasts, 3 Undying Soul Realm experts. This was a large amount of killing intent and enhancement for him. Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Undying Soul Realm. Might Shocks the Heavens Sword Storm. Killing Feast. Yixian's reaction was extremely fast. As soon as he landed, his brain spun and he made a decision. Kill. Before the people in the transfer palace could react, the blood sword swept in. What? The 3 leading experts were shocked. They didn't expect that someone would ambush them at the transfer palace. What was going on? Almost instantly, there were only a few living people left in the transfer palace. Other than the 3 Undying Soul Realm experts and the 5 poison beasts, there were only a few Undying Soul Realm experts left. As for the others, their heads were all pierced by the first wave of blood swords. Hundreds of wandering souls were piled up in the transfer palace. After the Undying Soul Realm and Killing Feast's enhancement, the sword storm was extremely powerful. After 2 rounds, only the 3 5 poison beasts were left. This time, even the 3 Undying Soul Realm experts were dead. If it weren't for the strong defense of the 3 5 poison beasts, they would have died in this wave. However, they definitely couldn't survive the 3rd round. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After the blood sword swept through, the 3 5 poison beasts fell directly. Ding, the host's killing intent has increased. Ding, the host's killing intent has increased. Ding, the host's killing intent has increased. Then Yixian quickly rushed into the transfer palace and used the Eye of Revelation to capture the wandering souls. Then his doppelganger continuously used the Void Flame Sword Wave to attack. This time he made a lot of money. Soon, the wandering souls in the transfer palace were all cleaned up and turned into the Elegy of Souls Enhancement. At this time, the Elegy of Souls Enhancement had increased to 49%, almost 50%. This time, the 5 poison sect's vitality will be greatly damaged. The corners of Yixian's mouth slightly curled up. He glanced at the attribute panel and discovered that his killing intent had already reached 4/5. Killing people could get killing intent points, but don't forget, this was not the only way to get killing intent points. Devouring weapons that had been killed could also be done. Sometimes, killing slaughter weapons killing intent, killing beasts killing intent, or killing soul realm experts. Teleport. The corners of Yixian's mouth slightly curled up. Then he had Old Shu teleport first. After confirming the surroundings, he followed. Originally, Yixian thought that the 5 poison divine sect had only nurtured 5 poison beasts, but he didn't expect another 3 to appear. In this way, the 5 poison sect might not have as many experts as Xiang Xian, but for Yixian, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But before going to the 5 poison sect, Yixian had to increase his killing intent to the upper limit first. In the next 3 days, he did as he pleased in the 5 poison territory, destroying nearly 10 sections. The 5 poison sects suffered heavy losses. After 3 days, Bladestorm's cooldown was restored. At the same time, his killing intent finally reached the upper limit again. Ding! Host's killing intent has reached the upper limit. Would you like to exchange it for Devour points? Yes. Ding! Killing intent has been cleared. Host has obtained 1 Devour point. Now Yixian already had 7 Devour points. He only needed 2 more points to fuse the 2 battle bloodlines. In fact, he could reclaim some of his skills now, but he was not in a hurry. Moreover, the Old Tree and Ghost Dome Emperor's skills were useful, so there was no need to reclaim them. What if they were useful in the future? After reaching the upper limit of his killing intent, Yixian did not stop there. After killing so many people, the things he collected were enough for him to break through. Ding! Host has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul Stage 1. Ding! Huijin's spirit has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul Stage 3. Ding! Wei Jintian has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul Stage 3. Ding! Ghost Dome Emperor has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul Stage 3. System notifications rang out one after another. Now, Yixian had enough strength to do as he pleased in the 5 poison territory. 5 poison sect, prepare to die. Yixian's eyes flickered. Then, he directly used the teleportation formation. This time he did not need the Old Tree to scout the way. Even if the 5 poison sect leaders were on the other side of the teleportation formation, he was not afraid. Hua! The teleportation formation began to operate. After a few seconds, Yixian arrived at his destination. This teleportation formation led to the 5 poison sect's vicinity. Yixian estimated that it would take about a day to reach the 5 poison sect. Although he had already used the Blade Storm with his current strength, it was not difficult for him to directly kill his way into the 5 poison sect. Immediately he rushed towards the 5 poison sect's headquarters. The 5 poison sect's headquarters was similar to the City of Beasts in the 100 Beast territory. It was made up of the Golden Toad sect, the Sky Spider sect, the 1,000 Feet sect, the Evil God Society and the Snake Shadow Palace. The 5 poison sect leaders also lived there. This time Yixian had triggered the 5th round of the chain random mission, which was to kill the 5 poison sect leaders. However, if any of them were not in the 5 poison sect, it would be troublesome. I hope all 5 of you are here. Then I can kill all of you in one fell swoop. On the way, Yixian could not help but think about it. Soon a day and a half passed. After this period of hurrying, Yixian finally arrived at the 5 poison sect. At this time, Yixian was concealing his aura and hiding. There were a total of 5 entrances to the 5 poison sect's headquarters. The Sky Spider sect, the Golden Toad sect, the Snake Shadow Palace, the Cthulhuism Society, and the 1,000-legged sect each had 1 entrance. In fact, it was just the headquarters of the 5 factions combined. However, at this time the 5 poison sect's headquarters was closed. No one went out and no one went in. A strange atmosphere began to spread. This is strange. Yixian used his Eye of Revelation to scan the area from afar. However, due to the distance and the protection of the formation outside the 5 poison sect's headquarters, he could not see inside. In fact, Yixian had already arrived at the 5 poison sect half a day ago. He walked around the 5 poison sect and found that the 5 entrances were closed. Old Tree and the others were guarding 3 of the entrances, but they did not see anyone go out. Something was fishy. Chapter 1590. Could it be that the 5 poison sect is still holding a sacrifice to cultivate the 5 poison beasts? Yixian raised his eyebrows as this thought flashed through his mind. Before he could continue thinking about it, the door in front of him suddenly opened. This was the Cthulhuism sect's door. Rumble. The door opened and a group of martial artists walked out. Their realms were not low, at least in the Undying Soul realm. The stronger ones were in the Undying Soul realm. In addition, there were 3 5 poison beasts. As expected. Seeing this, Yixian believed that his guess was right. The 5 poison sect was indeed cultivating the 5 poison beasts and sending them to the 100 Beast territory to speed up the spread of the poison fog. If Yixian's blood had not been able to detoxify the poison, the 5 poison beasts would have been enough to flatten the entire 100 Beast territory. Yixian thought that the experts in the 100 Beast territory had alerted the enemy and sent the news back to the 5 poison sect. That was why the 5 poison sect kept sending the 5 poison beasts to join the battle. Since that was the case, Yixian would let them die halfway. This team was similar to the team in the teleportation palace. They both had 3 Undying Soul Realm experts. If each of the 5 poison beasts had an Undying Soul Realm expert by their side, then there would be 11 of them. The 5 poison sect's strength was about the same as the City of Beasts, so Yixian guessed that there should not be many experts left in the 5 poison sect. But now Yixian was prepared to deal with this group of people rushing to the front line first. If it was before, Yixian would naturally choose to wait until the opponent was far away before making a move. But now that he had the strength, there was no need to do so. Just one word: kill. Immediately, he summoned Old Shu and the other 2 over, and then directly rushed out to kill them. Who's there? The expert at the front of the team noticed an unfamiliar aura and immediately shouted. At this time they were under the city wall and the door was not closed, so Yixian had to stop them from closing the door. Otherwise he would have to break the array by force. Fortunately, the old tree, who had broken through to the 3rd stage of the Undying Soul Realm, was so fast that he could fly up and kill his way into the enemy formation. When this group of experts felt the unfamiliar aura in the team, they immediately raised their spirits. Many people did not even think before launching an attack. Shio! 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 Countless sonic booms could be heard. In the face of these attacks, the old tree did not mind at all and directly used a skill. Raging Inferno Cover. Raging Inferno Cover was a very practical skill. Now that Old Tree had broken through to the 3rd stage of the Undying Soul Realm, the defensive capabilities of the Raging Inferno Cover were extremely strong. The Raging Inferno Shield absorbed all the attacks from the surrounding hundreds of people. Then the Raging Inferno Shield exploded. Bang! The Raging Inferno Dome exploded, and all the people around the old tree were shattered into pieces, their heads exploding. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. A series of system notifications rang in Yixian's mind. This attack directly caused the death of over 200 people. Of course, the majority of these 200 people were at the 2nd and 1st level of the Undying Soul Realm. There was only one 3rd level Undying Soul Realm martial artist that was killed by the explosion. Ouch! My interspatial ring. At this time Yixian recalled that not only did these people die, but even the interspatial ring was blown away. However, the Raging Inferno Cover's power was too great. The city walls were directly blown apart, and the door could no longer be closed. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor hurriedly rushed over. His eyes flickered a few times, and all the dead people who were lower than him were turned into his battle corpses. In an instant, the 200 people who died just now were almost all resurrected, except for the 3rd stage of the Undying Soul Realm. However, these resurrected people were useless because the strength of the old tree and the others were not like before. At this time, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian just happened to arrive and started killing. There were 6 5 Poison Divine Sect experts at the 4th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, and 5 Poison Beasts at the 4th layer of the Undying Soul Realm. However, under the siege of the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and the Old Tree, these 6 4th stage Undying Soul Realm experts were all killed in less than 5 rounds. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Yixian obtained a lot of killing intent, and there was also the Elegy of Soul's Enhancement. After this period of killing, the Elegy of Soul's Enhancement had reached 55%, which was not bad. Previously, in order to kill the young Lord of Poison Spider, Yixian let the Ghost Dome Great Emperor use the Death Gaze twice, which consumed 10% of the enhancement. At that time, Yixian was heartbroken for a long time. Now, he thought that unless it was a critical moment he should not use the Death Gaze. Then Yixian collected the spoils of war, and after his cultivation increased, he quickly rushed in. Although the movement here was not big, with so many auras not leaving the 5 Poison Divine Sect, it was impossible for the 5 Poison Divine Sect not to notice. At this moment, Yixian had already killed his way into the 5 Poison Divine Sect. With his outstanding spiritual sense, he found that there were not many people in the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Could be described as very few. However, in the distant sky there was a strange energy rising. Go! Yixian did not say anything and directly rushed to the center. Along the way there were some experts of the 5 Poison Divine Sect, but they were all 1st and 2nd stage Undying Soul Realm experts. Before they could react, They were dealt with by the old tree and the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Yixian did not see a single Undying Soul Realm disciple of the Five Poison Divine Sect. Could it be? Suddenly, a thought flashed in Yixian's mind. Although the Five Poison Divine Sect was the overlord of the Five Poison Realm, there should be many geniuses under them. Why was there not a single Undying Soul Realm disciple? Could it be that these disciples were also used as sacrifices? If that was the case, then the Five Poison Divine Sect was a little too cruel. Very quickly, Yixian approached the rising energy. Relying on the Eye of Insight, he looked from afar and saw a black pillar of light that soared into the sky. Yixian immediately soared into the sky and jumped into the sky to take a look. In the next moment, he was shocked. Beside the black pillar of light was a huge pit outside the altar. Countless corpses were piled up inside, and there were many sacrifices standing outside the pit. Among them were people wearing the Five Poison Divine Sect's disciple robes. They surrounded the huge pit and stood at a designated spot. Then, their souls suddenly left their bodies and were absorbed by the black pillar of light. As for their corpses, they were pushed into the huge pit by the Five Poison Divine Sect's elders with the power of all creations. At the same time, there were some large figures swimming in the huge pit. They fed on corpses and would grow after eating a certain amount of corpses. Chapter 1591. Just as I thought. Yixian narrowed his eyes. If he wasn't used to it, he would have vomited. The five poison beasts were indeed feeding on corpses to grow. There were already more than 100 of them. Of course, these five poison beasts were not fully grown yet. Compared to the ones Yixian saw, they were much smaller. They were probably only at the second level of the Undying Soul Realm. The Five Poison Sect was indeed cruel. Even their disciples were not spared and were used as sacrifices. However, Yixian scanned the area with his eye of revelation and found 5 figures under the black light pillar. The 5 sect leaders of the Five Poison Sect? Yixian raised his eyebrows. These 5 people corresponded to the 5 tribes of the Five Poison Sect. In addition, they were all at the 5th level of the Undying Soul Realm. There was no doubt that they were the 5 sect leaders of the Five Poison Sect. At this time, these 5 people were standing in the middle of the black light pillar. There was an array outside the pillar that was absorbing the spiritual energy of the black light pillar and feeding it back to the 5 people. Their auras were constantly growing. So the sacrifice is mainly to increase their strength. The 5 poison beasts are only secondary. Yixian immediately reacted. He guessed that the 5 sect leaders wanted to use this opportunity to break through to the 6th level of the Undying Soul Realm. If it was only 5 5th level Undying Soul Realm experts, Yixian was not afraid. However, if they all broke through to the 6th level of the Undying Soul Realm, it would be a little tricky. After all, these 5 people were the sect leaders of the Five Poison Sect. Their battle strength was outstanding and would not be easy to deal with. In that case, they must be killed before they broke through. At the very least, they must be interrupted. Go! At that moment, Yixian directly summoned Old Tree and the other 2 and directly charged over. The sudden appearance of their auras immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding 5 Poison Divine Sect elders. They must be from the 100 Beasts region. Kill them. We can't let them disturb the sect leaders. Immediately, all of the elders at the 3rd and 4th level of the Undying Soul Realm pounced towards Yixian. It was a pity that today's battle was of the utmost importance. As such, Yixian did not need to hold back anymore, and directly asked the Ghost Dome Great Emperor to use his undying fighting soul. As for him and the Old Tree, they were in charge of blocking the elders. Swish! Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian, who had activated their undying battle souls, had all of their attributes increased by 2 folds. They immediately opened up a bloody path as they charged towards the black light pillar. At the same time, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's Will of Death was activated, reviving the hundreds of thousands of corpses below. However, Yixian was too naive because the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian were suddenly blocked by the formation on the altar. Humph! A nameless junior actually dares to come and disturb us. You're really courting death. The Cthulhuism Societies, 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 Cthulhuism Societies. Cthulhuism Societies, Cthulhuism Societies, Cthulhuism Societies, Cthulhuism Societies, bang. The black light pillar suddenly released a black aura that directly penetrated Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Fortunately, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's injuries did not exceed 4/5 and could still recover. However, Yixian's expression turned solemn when he saw this scene. He quickly sent the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian back to the planting space. He was too careless. With the Eye of Revelation, he actually did not see the protective formation on the altar. He also did not expect the formation to be so powerful. The attack just now had already damaged 3/5 of the Ghost Dome Great Emperor, almost killing him. Once the Ghost Dome Great Emperor died, the effect of the undying battle soul would disappear. Therefore he could not die. Since that was the case, Yixian changed his plan and killed these annoying elders first. As for the formation, he would leave it to the hundreds of thousands of battle corpses. In an instant, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor controlled the battle corpses and charged towards the altar. The experts in the 5 Poison Divine sect had been sent to the front lines to invade the 100 Beast region. 2 batches of them had been killed by Yixian. Therefore, there were not many experts left. However, the 5 Poison Divine sect made use of the sacrificial formation to forcefully raise 10 4th-grade Undying Soul Realm experts. Unfortunately, this level of cultivation was no longer a threat to Yixian. In less than 10 seconds, 13 4th-grade Undying Soul Realm experts and more than 30 3rd-grade Undying Soul Realm experts were all killed. In addition, the hundreds of 5 poison beasts that had yet to mature were also killed. Not even a single one of them was left behind. After Yixian collected these people's interspatial rings, he sized up the altar. The hundreds of thousands of battle corpses could not even get close to the altar. They were directly blasted into pieces by the black aura. One had to know that this black pillar of light was condensed from their souls. When the 5 sect masters saw that all the experts under their command were killed, they couldn't help but be shocked. A bunch of trash. Even if their cultivation level increased, they are still trash. Where did these people come from? How could they kill their way into the 5 Poison Divine sect? They are definitely not from the 100 Beast region. A human, a demon, and a rare mutated beast, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. They should be from somewhere else. No matter what, they can't break this formation condensed from tens of millions of souls. They can only watch. After this period of soul refinement, our souls have become extremely strong. As long as the sacrifice is complete, we will definitely break through to the 6th grade Undying Soul Realm. In the future, our cultivation speed will greatly increase. It is not impossible for us to reach the reaching heaven state. Don't worry about those juniors outside. As long as we succeed this time, let alone the 5 Poison Divine sect, even if all the people of the 5 Poison realm die, so what? Under the black pillar of light, the sect masters of the 5 Poison Divine sect were chatting with a relaxed expression. This formation was set up by tens of millions of souls of sacrifices. Even if the 3 city lords of the 100 Beast region brought their experts here, they would not be able to break it, so they were not worried. At this time, Yixian had killed all the living creatures around the altar. The effect of the Undying Soul Realm had also worn off. This formation is too strong. Even if I use the Unicorn Descent, I don't think I can break it. Yixian watched with a grave expression. Then he directly marked the sect master of the Sky Spider sect and tried to use the Eye of Assassination. Ding! Failed. The system notified. This was the first time Yixian had failed. It seemed that this formation was indeed extremely strong. After all, Yixian had not seen through it at first with the Eye of Revelation. However, Yixian still had a trump card, and that was the Eye of Space. Unfortunately, he was still too naive. He had originally wanted to tear open space and pass through the formation, but he found that the other end of the tear appeared outside the formation. This formation, formed from the combination of countless souls, had actually blocked the tear in space. This was at least a reaching heaven state formation. This was troublesome. I didn't expect the 5 Poison Divine sect to have a reaching heaven state formation. This is a tragedy. Chapter 1592. Ascension Realm elites could tear space apart to engage in battle. Yixian had the Eye of Space, so he could use the ability of space in advance. But now, his Eye of Space had no effect on this formation. This meant that the space within the formation was very stable and couldn't be broken. This formation was equivalent to the environment within a Ascension Realm elite's body. It was extremely stable, so there wouldn't be any space cracks within. However, Yixian was able to see through the weakness of this formation, and that was soul force. As long as the soul energy was constantly depleted, the formation would continue to weaken. Regardless of whether this formation was used for defense or attack, it would consume soul energy, so it was easy to deal with. One word: attack. Kill. Yixian ordered Old Tree's trio once again. They immediately blended in with the battle corpses and attacked the formation. Boom! 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 The soul array was constantly consuming soul energy to withstand the attacks, but it wasn't much. Attacking the formation is just a waste of energy. The greater the number of souls in the formation, the stronger its defense. Even if the 5 city lords of the City of 100 Beasts were here, it would probably take them 7 days to break it. Sky Spider snorted in his heart. His gaze fell on Yixian. He remembered Yixian because Yixian had killed his youngest son. However, at this critical moment, he naturally wouldn't rush out and kill Yixian. As long as he came out of seclusion, Yixian would definitely die. The other 4 sect leaders also heard the commotion, but they didn't even have the urge to open their eyes. They just quietly absorbed the soul energy. Yixian, who was outside, frowned as he looked at the formation. At this time, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and the others had already joined the battle for 3 seconds. However, in these 3 seconds, the damage they caused was still not comparable to the 5 Great Sect Masters' attack on the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. If this continued, how long would it take? But at this moment, Ghost Dome Great Emperor suddenly sent a message. What? You said you have a way to break this formation? Yixian was shocked. In the next moment, he knew Ghost Dome Great Emperor's method. Dirge of Souls. Wasn't the Elegy of Souls supposed to absorb souls to increase the strength of Ghost Dome Emperor, Yixian, and the others? With so many souls gathered here, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. However, Yixian didn't have a corresponding skill, so he could only rely on Ghost Dome Emperor. Good, let's kill them. Yixian nodded. Ghost Dome Great Emperor began to make preparations. After a while, he began to absorb the soul energy rapidly. At the same time, the buff of the Soul of Elegy also began to increase bit by bit. In the beginning, this absorption of soul power was very slow, so the 5 Poison Divine sect leaders inside did not notice. However, after the Ghost Dome Great Emperor absorbed the energy for a while, they felt that something was amiss. There seemed to be some changes in the order of the soul array. The speed of the soul power being fed back to them suddenly slowed down. However, they did not pay much attention to it. 56, 57, 58. Yixian observed his status panel as he allowed the Ghost Dome Great Emperor to absorb the soul energy. These values were the buff of the Elegy of Souls. In the beginning, it took 2 minutes to increase by 1 point. However, as time went on, it became 1 minute. At this point, almost 10 minutes had passed. The Ghost Dome Great Emperor's absorption of soul power had increased sharply. Soon the buff had reached 60%. It was impossible for the 5 sect leaders to not notice it now. Damn it, someone is absorbing the soul energy outside. The Sky Spider sect leader roared when he noticed the abnormality. Once the array is activated, it can't be stopped. We can't leave now, so we have to attack with the soul array. The Golden Toad sect leader roared and diverted some of his attention to control the soul array. A black aura rushed out and blasted the battle corpses, blocking the way into pieces. Then it hit the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Last time, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's body was penetrated. However, this time, the black aura was absorbed by the Ghost Dome Great Emperor, increasing the buff of the Elegy of Souls by 5,000. Ha ha ha, many thanks. Yixian couldn't help but mock when he saw the situation. However, he immediately shut his mouth. What if he angered the 5 sect leaders and they came out to kill him? If the 5 sect leaders came out, he could complete his chain random mission. However, if they died, who would operate the soul array? This was a buff. Damned brat! The fiend god cult leader cursed. The soul array's attack was ineffective against the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. They couldn't leave, and there were no other experts in the Five Poison Divine cult. Therefore, they could only choose to turn a blind eye. After all, they had no other choice. This way, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor would have time to absorb the soul energy and increase his buff. After preparing for a while, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's speed increased. The soul energy gathered by the soul array was rapidly absorbed. The buff increased from 1 point per minute to 1 point per half a minute, and then to 25 seconds, when the Elegy of Souls buff reached 80%, the soul energy gathered by the array was reduced to 2/3. This time the 5 sect leaders panicked. Originally, they planned to take half a month to absorb all the soul energy. That was why they sent a large number of experts to invade the 100 Beast region to prevent the experts of the 100 Beast region from coming here. However, they didn't expect that Yi Xian would suddenly appear and absorb the soul energy right under their noses. This was really strange. Under such circumstances, let alone half a month, they wouldn't even be able to hold on for half an hour. Everyone, return all the soul energy to me and let me break through first. At this time, the Sky Spider sect leader suddenly said. The soul array had been operating for several days. They had also absorbed the soul energy for several days, but they hadn't completely refined it yet. The Sky Spider was the strongest among them. Before the soul array was activated, he was already at the peak of the 5th layer Undying Soul Realm. If he received the soul energy of the 4 sect leaders, he might be able to break through in a short time. The other 4 sect leaders looked at each other and immediately made a decision. They discharged all the soul energy they had received and gathered it with the Sky Spider. The Sky Spider's eyes lit up when he received so much soul energy. However, refining the soul energy required time. Even if he was given time, he would need at least a day to break through. Right now, there wasn't so much time for him. Refine by force. The Sky Spider opened his eyes wide and made a decision. Chapter 1593. The Sky Spider began to forcibly refine the soul energy. This was very damaging to his soul. After all, it was like a skinny person forcibly stuffing a large amount of food into his body to become a fatty. If he was not careful, his soul would be destroyed. However, the Sky Spider was originally at the peak of the Undying Soul Realm. As long as he was careful, it would not be a problem. Even so, it took him a full 10 minutes to do so. 10 minutes later, the strength of the soul array had been reduced by half. Fortunately, the Sky Spider had successfully broken through to the 6th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. Since he had already broken through, then there was no need for him to absorb any more soul energy. He directly charged out. In these 10 minutes, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor had also absorbed a lot of soul energy. The Elegy of Souls amplification had increased to 90%. Although the Undying Battle Soul could no longer be used, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was not afraid of the opponent. However, he still needed to continue absorbing soul energy. Hence, Yi Xian would not let him participate in the battle. Old Tree Wei Zhentian, delay the Sky Spider. Yi Xian immediately ordered the two of them. As for himself, he naturally took action personally. He estimated that as long as the Ghost Dome Great Emperor absorbed all the soul energy in the soul array, the amplification would at least double. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could not be missed. Although he could ask the Ghost Dome Great Emperor to stop first, and then join forces to kill the Heavenly Spider who had broken through to the 6th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, wouldn't the 4 sect masters be scared out of their wits? The Sky Spider who was at the Undying Soul Realm couldn't defeat Yi Xian. What could they, who were only at the Undying Soul Realm, do? At that time, the soul array might be removed by them. That would not be worth it. Hence, Yi Xian's plan was to stall for time and delay the Sky Spider, so that the Ghost Dome Great Emperor could continue absorbing soul energy. In the array, the Sky Spider glanced at Yi Xian and directly charged at the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Although Yi Xian had killed the young Lord of Poisonous Spider, there were many of his descendants among the people Yi Xian had killed. The most important thing now was to deal with the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. 8 Spider Spear. The Sky Spider didn't dare to be careless. After all, Yi Xian and the others had killed dozens of experts in succession. Among them were 13 elders at the Undying Soul Realm. Their battle prowess was at least at the Undying Soul Realm 5th stage. Swish! 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 With a series of sonic booms, the 8 spider legs on the back of the sky spider attacked Ghost Dome Great Emperor. These 8 spider legs were all coated in poison. Furthermore, it was a poison of the soul. Unfortunately, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was no pushover. He took the 8 spider spear head-on without batting an eyelid. Moreover, there was no reaction because he had the immortal phoenix bloodline in his body. Coincidentally, the old tree arrived first. He flashed behind the sky spider and smashed down with his fist. Too naive. The corner of Sky Spider's mouth curled up slightly. When Old Tree punched out, 8 spider legs extended from his back and pierced through Old Tree's body at lightning speed. However, the naive one wasn't the Old Tree. It was him. A total of 16 spider legs pierced through the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Old Tree respectively. However, what was surprising was that they weren't able to kill the two. Yixian, who arrived in a hurry, smirked and used the Eye of Space. Gotcha! 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 A series of crisp sounds echoed. The 8 spider legs that pierced through the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's body were all broken by the spatial cracks. If the sky spider was inside the array, Yixian wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, the sky spider came out by himself. Why would Yixian be afraid of him? What a joke! Swish! After breaking the 8 spider legs, Yixian swiftly slashed out a few more slashes. This time the exit of the spatial crack was right in front of the sky spider. The sky spider's expression changed drastically. He quickly used his spider legs to block the attacks. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wei Zhentian quickly turned into a giant bell and enveloped the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Only the side close to the soul array was exposed to protect the Ghost Dome Great Emperor from being affected. Brat, no matter where you came from, you will die today. The sky spider roared. At this moment he didn't care so much. He would kill first. The 8 spider spears that pierced through the old tree's body suddenly bloomed like a flower. The sharp spider legs directly tore the old tree's body into pieces. Then he threw a punch at Yixian. Unfortunately, the old tree wouldn't die so easily. Ding! The spirit of ash has died. Ding! The spirit of ash has revived. In an instant, the old tree appeared in front of Yixian again. Then he used all his strength to destroy the sky spider's attack. If it was before, it would be very difficult for him and Yixian to defeat the sky spider together. However, don't forget that the Ghost Dome Great Emperor had absorbed a lot of soul force just now, and the amplification of the soul's elegy had increased from 55% to 80%. With Yixian's ability, it shouldn't be a problem for him to stall the sky spider. Seeing the old tree revive, the sky spider couldn't help but be stunned. However, he didn't think too much about it. Kill! In an instant, he fought with Yixian and the other two. Earlier, Yixian had already used the Death Pursuit order to mark the sky spider. In addition, with the Dark Knight Canopy and other skills, even if there was a difference of 4 realms, Yixian was confident that he could fight the sky spider. In addition, with the help of the old tree, how difficult would it be to hold back the sky spider? On the other side, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was focused on absorbing soul energy. Wei Zhentian was also focused on protecting him. When the 4 great sect masters saw that the sky spider was actually being held back, they all revealed looks of shock. One of them was at the Undying Soul Realm while the other was at the Undying Soul Realm. How could they be able to surpass so many realms to challenge the Undying Soul Realm? Damn it! If this continues, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor will break the soul array we built with great difficulty. The Snake Shadow Sect Master's expression changed greatly. We can't let them ruin the plan. I'll do it. Suddenly, the pot-bellied Golden Toad school leader let out a low roar and charged out of the formation. Soul-extinguishing venom. After the Golden Toad Sect Master left the soul array, he directly spat out a mouthful of golden venom at the giant bell that Wei Zhentian had transformed into. Pooh! Sizzle! When the venom landed on Wei Zhentian's body, he immediately began to melt. The Golden Toad Sect Master's strength was not weak. Even his blood was highly toxic, let alone the pure venom that he refined. Unfortunately, Wei Zhentian possessed the Undying Phoenix bloodline. Although the golden venom was strong, it couldn't corrode a hole in his body. Seeing this, the Golden Toad Sect Master spat out another mouthful of golden venom. However, this time it had no effect on Wei Zhentian. The Undying Phoenix bloodline was an auxiliary bloodline. Since the auxiliary bloodline was shared by both master and servant, the venom in the golden venom was already immune. It was no different from water. Chapter 1594. Damn it, I'm going to swallow you all. The Golden Toadstool's leader was furious. His entire body began to expand. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into a 100-meter-tall giant. Then, he opened his round mouth and prepared to swallow Wei Zhentian's bell. Seeing this, Yixian couldn't help but shake his head and curse. Idiot! Wei Zhentian had the ability to transform. Just as the Golden Toad Hierarch was about to swallow Wei Zhentian transformed again. Countless spears suddenly extended from the top of the bell and pierced the clouds. Rip! 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 These spears easily pierced through the Golden Toad Hierarch's mouth and came out from his face. Some of them even almost pierced his head. That wasn't the point. The point was that after the spears pierced through, they suddenly bent like the 8 spider spears and grew barbs. It was impossible for the Golden Toad Hierarch to pull them out. If it was a normal battle, Wei Zhentian, who was at the Undying Soul Realm, would at most be able to draw with the Golden Toad Hierarch. However, the Golden Toad Hierarch was too anxious and careless. That was why he was hit by Wei Zhentian's attack. However, there was a limit to Wei Zhentian's growth. With so many spears, the thickness of the bell would be reduced. Seeing this, the Scorpion God's eyes lit up and he immediately rushed out. Deity-slaying spike. The Scorpion God's tail suddenly pierced out. Its power was even stronger than the 8 spider spears. He was prepared to pierce through Wei Zhentian and stop Ghost Dome Great Emperor at the same time. As the big brother, Wei Zhentian naturally had to protect his younger brother. He immediately removed the other side of his defense and used all his strength to block this attack. Wei Zhentian, don't move. Yixian's voice suddenly rang out. Wei Zhentian, who was about to transform into a shield, suddenly stopped. Then, he saw a space crack open on the side of the evil god and the Scorpion God's tail pierced in. Crack! With a crisp sound, the Scorpion God's tail pierced an ally's body. This person was the Golden Toad Hierarch, who was locked by Wei Zhentian's barbs. The Scorpion God's tail pierced through the back of his head. The Golden Toad sect leader was dead. The evil god actually killed his own people by mistake. That was really comical. Although the Golden Toadstool's Hierarch did not die during Yixian, the amount of killing intent and the soul formation was just a drop in the bucket. The Golden Toad Hierarch's head was pierced through and his soul instantly left his body. At this moment, an attack pierced through space and struck the Golden Toad Hierarch's soul. Although there was no killing intent, there was the Elegy of Souls buff. Unfortunately, due to the difference in cultivation between the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and the Golden Toad Sect Master, the buff was not much. Yixian, who was dealing with the sky spiders, quickly flew over and collected the shrunken corpse of the Golden Toad Sect leader, including the interspatial ring. This Golden Toadstool Master was one of the top 5 people in the 5 Poison Realm. Naturally, his wealth would not be low. However, he had a soul seed, so the items in the Ring of Cosmos weren't everything. Even so, it was enough for Yixian and the others to increase their cultivation by quite a bit. At the same time, the space crack suddenly closed, directly cutting off the Scorpion God's long tail. Wah, I'm going to kill you. The evil god had gone crazy. He and the Golden Toadstool Master had been good friends for tens of thousands of years. They had gone through life and death together. They had fought together in the glazed light sacred ground. It was not easy for them to develop to this stage, but now they were interrupted by Yixian. At this moment, his heart had already collapsed. Even if he had to die, he would kill Yixian. Go to hell! The evil god roared. He did not care about anything else and directly rushed towards Yixian. With just you. Yixian's eyes flickered as he quickly retreated. Although he had killed the Golden Toadstool Master, there was no other way. If he killed the Evil God Society Master as well, the other 2 inside might come out and kill him. However, he was thinking too much. After the 1,000-Foot Sect Master and the Snake Shadow Sect Master saw the Golden Toadstool Master die, they naturally could not sit still and directly charged out. Although the 5 Poison Divine Sect had spent a lot of effort to build this soul array, just the offerings alone exceeded 50 million. However, now that the Sky Spider had broken through to the 6th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, they could sweep through the entire 100 Beast realm. When the time comes, They just need to capture some more offerings to build another soul array. Right now it was more important to kill Yixian. As expected, when the last Snake Shadow Sect Master left the array, the black light pillar suddenly exploded. Soul power instantly spread out and dissipated between heaven and earth. Damn it! Yixian jumped in fright and could not help but curse. Now that there was no one in the soul array who was going to support it. Since that was the case, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor did not need to absorb any more soul power. Kill! After the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian received the order, they immediately intercepted the 1,000-foot Sect Master and the Snake Shadow Sect Master. Now it was 4 against 4. However, in a 4 against 4 situation, Yixian was not afraid of his opponents. "Brat, I will kill you!" the evil god roared. His body suddenly began to transform like the Golden Toad Schoolmaster. However, he was different from the Golden Toad Schoolmaster. At the same time, his appearance also changed. In the blink of an eye, the evil god transformed into a huge scorpion. Yixian had already dealt with the evil god society before. It was when he was fighting for the second eye of Myriad. Lu Tiangong's ex-wife said that she often dreamed of kneeling and worshipping a huge black scorpion. And this huge black scorpion was actually the evil god. Although the evil god was from the scorpion race, he used a unique ability to transform into a huge black scorpion. Before Yixian could react, a pair of huge pincers clamped towards him. "So what if you've become bigger? See if I don't kill you." Yixian widened his eyes and rushed over. Crack! Crack! The pair of huge pincers clamped twice, but did not manage to clamp down on Yixian. At this moment, Yixian's eyes suddenly flashed. In an instant, he passed through a spatial crack in front of him and entered the evil god's body. The environment inside the soul formation was very stable. It was impossible to tear through space at will. However, this evil god was only at the 5th stage Undying Soul realm. He could not resist the power of space before reaching the Heaven Ascension realm. Now that Yixian had entered his body, he realized that he was done for. Although there were some deadly poisonous scorpions in the evil god's body, they were not a threat to Yixian. Whoosh! 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 One after another, the void flame sword waves tore through the air and landed on the evil god's body. The evil god was in so much pain that he let out a shocking roar. Unicorn's true chi had the effect of burning the world. Every time the void flame sword waves attacked, they would leave behind a wisp of flame. In an instant, the evil god's body was on fire. Then Yixian quickly rushed in another direction, where the evil god's head was. Chapter 1595. F***CK so ruthless. Yixian cursed. The pincers were right in front of him. If not for his quick reaction, he would have been caught. The self-harming evil god quickly returned to his original form. However, his lower body was already cut off by himself. His scorpion tail was also gone, leaving only his upper body. Originally, when he used his special ability, his combat strength would be increased by a level. Moreover, his shell was very hard. However, he was too angry and forgot about this. Fortunately, this time he only lost the lower half of his body. "I'll kill you." With only half of his body left, the evil god rushed towards Yixian again. However, at this moment, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian, who were holding back the 1,000-feet sect leader, and the Snake Shadow sect leader suddenly disappeared. Immediately after, they appeared beside the evil god. What? The evil god was shocked. In the next moment, he was welcomed by the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's huge sword. Clang! The evil god used the huge sword in his hand to block it. However, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's sword was full of strength. The evil god was sent flying towards Wei Zhenqian. Coincidentally, Wei Zhenqian had already turned into a green dragon and grabbed the evil god with his claw. It's over. The evil god's expression changed. He was actually captured. This was not a good sign. As expected, just as this thought flashed through his mind, the space beside his head suddenly tore open. Swish! The evil god's head was cut open by the space crack, and he instantly died. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. A system notification sounded. Following that, a void flame sword wave wiped out the evil god's soul. Whether the evil god had a soul seed or not, it had nothing to do with Yixian. After all, a soul seed's revival was not something that could be done overnight. At least it was calculated in years. At the same time, before the evil god died, Yixian activated the killing feast and directly increased the buff by 30%. Now it was 4 against 3. The sky spider who was entangled by the old tree saw the golden toad sect leader and the evil god sect leader die one after another. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. "You actually killed Toad and Scorpion. I'll kill you all." The sky spider roared angrily at the sky. He abandoned the old tree and rushed toward Yixian. "You want to leave? Have you asked for my permission?" The old tree snorted and instantly stood in front of the sky spider. There was a difference of 3 realms between him and the heavenly spider. The latter's battle prowess was superior, and it was already very difficult for the old tree to hold him back for even a moment. The sky spider had also predicted that the old tree would appear in front of it in a flash. The 8 spider spear instantly pierced through the old tree's body when it appeared. Then with a ripping sound, the old tree died once again. Ding! The spirit of ashes has died. Ding! The spirit of ashes has been revived. However, what made the sky spider feel helpless was that the old tree was resurrected once again. Furthermore, it appeared behind the snake shadow hierarch. Not only that, but Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian also did the same. They instantly surrounded 1000-foot sect leader and snake shadow sect leader. Hoo hoo hoo! 3 gusts of wind howled. The 1000-foot sect leader used his centipede legs to surround himself and blocked Wei Zhentian's dragon tail attack. However, the weakest of the 5 sect leaders, Snake Shadow Hierarch, was not so lucky. First, he was struck by the old tree's fist. Then, half of his head was cut off by the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's Ghost Dome Great Emperor's Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Fortunately, he managed to avoid a fatal blow. The only part that was cut was his nose, but his brain was still intact. However, a spatial tear suddenly tore open. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. The Snake Shadow Hierarch died tragically after the Cthulhuism Hierarch. Now it was 4 against 2. In a situation of 4 against 4, 2 of them were killed. Now that it was 4 against 2, how could they win? Sky Spider, quickly leave. Since we all have soul seeds, we can revive at the same place. The 1000-foot sect leader suddenly shouted. The 4 of them were all at the 5th stage of the Undying Soul Realm and had condensed soul seeds. Even if their souls were destroyed, they could still use the soul seeds hidden somewhere to revive. However, the sky spider had already broken through to the 6th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. The 5th stage soul seed had no effect on him. If his soul was destroyed now, then he would really die. When the sky spider heard this, he couldn't help but pause. His head quickly turned. The 4 of them all had soul seeds. As long as they had 1,000 years to revive, they would not really die. As long as the green hills last, there will be firewood. Leave. The sky spider made a prompt decision. As a 6th stage Undying Soul Realm expert, he was actually scared away by a junior like Yixian. He was really a coward. It was a pity that Yixian had already placed a death pursuit order on him. Even if the sky spider ran to the ends of the earth, he would not be able to escape Yixian's pursuit. Deal with him first. Yixian gave the 3 of them an order. As long as the 1000-foot sect leader was killed, then only the sky spider sect leader would be left. The chain of random missions was finally about to be completed. The 1000-foot sect leader's defensive abilities were not bad. It was a pity that he had encountered Yixian, who had the Eye of Space. Soon the 1000-foot sect leader also fell, his soul destroyed. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. When Yixian took his interspatial ring, his aura skyrocketed. Now only the sky spider sect leader was left. The sky spider sect leader who was escaping was very fast. However, could he be faster than the old tree who was using remnant flames? Whoosh! 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 The old tree continued to use remnant flames to chase after the sky spider. Yixian also followed suit. There was a confident smile on his face because he knew that the sky spider would not be able to escape no matter what. Don't forget that before he killed his way into the 5 Poison Divine sect, he had already explored all 5 entrances and left a void tracker at each of them. The sky spider still wanted to escape? Eye of the Void. At this time, Yixian suddenly opened a void door and appeared in front of the sky spider. Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian immediately rushed out. What? The sky spider was shocked. There was a wolf behind and a tiger in front. No matter how he escaped, Yixian and the others could kill him. Without waiting for the sky spider to speak, Ghost Dome Great Emperor, Wei Zhantian, and the old tree surrounded him. Bang! 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 In an instant, the four of them began to fight. Yixian stood in the distance, attacking with the Void Flame Sword Wave, while looking for an opportunity to kill the sky spider with the Eye of Space. As long as the sky spider was killed, the 5th round of the chain random mission would be completed. At that time, he would be able to obtain a good reward. Although the sky spider was at the 6th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, which was 3 layers higher than the Old Trees Trio, it was not like the Old Trees Trio had not surpassed it before, so the sky spider was quickly suppressed. I can't die, I definitely can't die. The sky spider thought to himself. He had broken through to the 6th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, so the hidden soul seed could not be revived. Chapter 1596. Unfortunately, the sky spider was at his wit's end, while Yixian still had a few trump cards up his sleeve. Since victory was at hand, Yixian did not hold back anymore. He looked at the sky spider, who was at the end of his rope, and quickly approached. Unicorn Descend. A flaming hoof formed directly on the sky spider's head, and then came crashing down. Bam! The sky spider was entangled by the old tree, so he could not dodge at all and was hit by the hoof. Before he could react, another hoof came crashing down. If the sky spider had not defended himself with all his might, he would have been turned into ashes by now. At this time, his combat power had dropped to 60%. Even the old tree could kill him alone. Who are you? The sky spider knew that he was done for and could not help but ask again. He at least wanted to know who killed him. Since you asked so sincerely, I will be merciful and tell you. My surname is Liu, and my name is Ranjia. When Yixian finished speaking, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was already holding the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and the heaven-shaking greatsword, slamming down hard. Smack! The sky spider's head was hit by the 2 greatswords and instantly exploded. His soul left his body. At that moment, he quickly left. This was his last life-saving straw. If his soul could leave safely, then he could be resurrected. However, Yixian had already wiped out many souls just now. Could he escape? Whoosh! The sky spider's soul was hit by the Void Flame Sword Wave, and then burned to ashes, dissipating between heaven and earth. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Ding! Host has completed the 5th round of the chain random mission. Ding! Host can choose 4 out of the 5 rewards below. Hearing this, Yixian's eyes could not help but light up. He was right. There were a total of 5 rounds in this chain random mission, so the rewards must be good. Reward 1. Unicorn level up once. Reward 2. Unicorn level up once. Reward 3. Rising from the ashes level up once. Reward 4. Shadow Step level up once. Reward 5. 2 bottles of blessings. These were the 5 rewards for this random chain mission. Yixian could choose 4 out of these 5 rewards. When Yixian saw the list of rewards, he was dumbfounded. He was really lucky. All the rewards were practical advancements. First was Unicorn's Descent. This evolution alone cost 2 Devour points. As long as Unicorn's Descent evolved again, he would be able to stomp on it 3 times the next time he used Unicorn's Descent. The Unicorn True Chi could increase the attack power and resistance of flames, as well as the effect of burning the world. Not bad. Rising from the ashes was used to restore speed and poison resistance. At the same time, it could also increase fire attack power and fire resistance, which was not bad. As for Shadow Steps, it was slightly inferior. After all, Yixian was no longer in a hurry. The last reward was 2 bottles of blessings. Together with the previous one, the heaven-shaking sword would have 3 points of luck. At the same time, Yixian would also have 3 points of luck. Sometimes luck was very useful. For example, he had insta-killed the Icebound General in the Heavenly Peak prison. At this time, Yixian had already made his choice. But before that, he suddenly remembered something. Right, Unicorn's Descent. I just used it. Thinking of this, Yixian quickly put away the Heavenly Spider's Yin and Yang ring and devoured the items. Ding Host has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 2. Ding Huijin's Spirit has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 4. Ding Weijintian has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 4. Ding Ghost Dome Emperor has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 4. After devouring the yin and yang ring of the 5 poison sect's strongest heavenly spider, Yixian and the others broke through again. Unfortunately, these people all had soul seeds, so they must have hidden the good stuff. If not, Yixian would probably be at Undying Soul Stage 3, or even Undying Soul Stage 4. After devouring so many things, Unicorn's Descent's cooldown was also restored to 60%. Once Unicorn's Descent was upgraded, the cooldown would be more difficult to restore, so it was better to restore it earlier. After obtaining this skill, Yixian had the ability to store up cooldown materials in case of emergency. Of course, when necessary, he would still need to devour to increase his cultivation. Then Yixian began to choose his rewards. Unicorn's Descent, Unicorn's True Energy, Rebirth from the Ashes, and Oil of Blessing. These were his choices. Presumably, if it were anyone else, they would not choose Shadow Steps. Ding, Unicorn's Descent has advanced. Ding, Unicorn's True Energy has advanced. Ding, Rebirth from the Ashes has advanced. Ding, Host has obtained 2 bottles of Oil of Blessing. For system notifications sounded in succession, Yixian felt that his strength had increased by a lot. The next time Unicorn's Descent was to use 3 Devour points to advance. However, after advancing, he could summon the entire unicorn. Yixian was looking forward to it. He did not know how powerful the unicorn would be after he summoned it. But then again, now that the 5 poison sect leaders were dead, and the 5 poison sect was almost destroyed, they were no longer a threat to the 100 Beast region. Even if the Cthulhuism sect leader, the Golden Toad sect leader, the Thousand-Legged sect leader, and the Snake Shadow sect leader used their soul seeds to revive, it would take at least 100 years. It had nothing to do with him. Not to mention 100 years. At this rate, he would be able to break through to the Heaven Ascension stage in a year. At that time, he would not be afraid of those Undying Soul stage scumbags. Now that the matter is settled, I'll return to the front line and kill all the 5 poison sect members. Then I'll have Hu Yingbo continue to decipher the Heaven-Loathe Fox bloodline. Yixian thought to himself. He walked around the entire 5 poison sect, found some hidden interspatial rings, and left immediately. This time he had gained a lot. Aside from the chain random mission rewards and the increase in cultivation level, even the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's Elegy of Souls had increased to 90%. It was a huge gain. Now, he was going back to the 100 Beast region to let Hu Yingbo continue studying the Heaven-Loathing Fox bloodline. When he first came, he was only an Undying Body Stage 9. Now he was an Undying Soul Stage 2 Undying Soul Stage. His speed was very fast, and it only took him a little more than a day to reach the border. Coincidentally, some Fox clan members were coming over, and Yixian bumped into them. "Greetings, Lord." A few experts at the 2nd level of the Undying Soul realm respectfully greeted Yixian when they saw him. "Where is your ancestor now?" Yixian asked. "The 5 poison beasts have all been cleaned up. The ancestor and the others have returned to the City of Beasts to discuss the matter of attacking the 5 poison sect," said one of the Fox clan experts. "Oh, I've already destroyed the 5 poison sect. Do as you please." After saying that, Yixian broke through the void and returned to the hidden teleportation formation. He then teleported back to the City of Beasts. As for the poisonous fog, it was also absorbed by a special immortal artifact. When Yixian returned to the teleportation palace in the City of Beasts, he felt a powerful aura coming from the 100 Beast Palace. Chapter 1597. When the guards at the entrance saw Yixian, they were stunned. However, Yixian was an outsider and there was a strategy meeting going on inside, so they went in to report. As the savior of the 100 Beast territory, Yixian could enter the 100 Beast Hall. That little brother is back. Haha. Thanks to little brother's antidote blood, we were able to disperse the poison fog and eliminate those 5 poison beasts. Those 5 poison beasts must have been cultivated by the 5 poison divine sect at a great cost. Now that 5 of them are dead, the 5 poison divine sect should restrain themselves. The various patriarchs discussed. Hu Yingbo also came up and asked, "Yixian, I heard that you went to the 5 poison divine sect and destroyed several branches?" He was worried about Yixian before, but now that Yixian was back, he was relieved. "That's right, I destroyed many branches of the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Not only that, I even destroyed the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Yixian took out 5 corpses from the Devouring space. What? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. The 5 Poison Divine Sect was destroyed? These corpses. Hu Yingbo was the closest to the corpses. He sensed that these corpses' cultivation was not lower than his when they were alive. Could it be? These corpses belonged to the 5 sect masters of the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Among them, the Sky Spider Sect Master had broken through to the 6th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. Yixian said slowly. Boom! His words set off a commotion in the 100 Beast Hall. The corpses belonged to the 5 sect masters of the 5 Poison Divine Sect. Among them, the Sky Spider Sect Master was at the 6th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. How was that possible? You really destroyed the 5 Poison Divine Sect? The cat ancestor flashed over and sensed for herself. Sure enough, these corpses' cultivation was not lower than hers. This time Yixian did not intend to answer. He took out a floating image crystal. This crystal recorded the scene of the 5 Poison Divine Sect, including the hundreds of thousands of corpses. 5 Poison Divine Sect. I'll help you exterminate it. You can go and exterminate those sections. If you really want to thank me, then give me something as a reward. The corners of Yixian's mouth curled up slightly. He would not let go of this opportunity to extort him. The 5 Poison Territory and the 100 Beast Territory had been enemies for tens of thousands of years. Who would have thought that the 5 Poison Territory would be destroyed by Yixian today? This also resolved the crisis of the 100 Beast Territory. From now on, the people of the 100 Beasts region could move to the 5 Poison Realm. Moreover, the cat ancestor and the others could force the 5 beasts to change their faith and become their followers. When the crowd heard this, they still could not believe it for a long time. However, this had nothing to do with Yixian. Yixian said to Hu Yingbo, Senior, now that the matter is settled, you can study the heaven-loathing fox bloodline in peace. Now that the 5 Poison Divine Sect was destroyed, Hu Yingbo could study the heaven-loathed fox bloodline in peace and find a way to avoid the heavenly tribulation. However, just as Yixian finished speaking, a cat expert suddenly ran into the 100 Beast Palace and whispered something in the cat ancestor's ear. When the cat ancestor heard this, his expression changed greatly. Immediately he revealed a look of joy. Your wife has been resurrected. The cat ancestor could not hide his joy as he told Hu Yingbo. What? When the words came out, everyone was shocked. The fox ancestor was finally resurrected? Really? Hu Yingbo was shocked and could not help but ask. That's right. She was resurrected first and will be here soon. However, the leopard emperor is still in the process of being resurrected. The cat ancestor said solemnly. Today was one happy day after another. Not only was the 5 Poison Divine Sect destroyed, but even the fox ancestor, who had been dead for 100 years, was resurrected. Soon, the crowd saw a graceful figure walking into the 100 Beast Palace. It was a white-robed woman with 9 white foxtails behind her. Her cultivation level was at the Undying Soul Realm. This person was the recently resurrected fox ancestor, Hu Lingqing. When Hu Yingbo saw her, he immediately rushed over. After all, Hu Lingqing was his wife. When Yixian saw the fox ancestor, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He originally thought that he would have to rely on Hu Yingbo. Now that Hu Lingqing was resurrected, the chances of success were much higher. The 5 Poison Divine Sect was destroyed and the fox ancestor was resurrected. Therefore, Yixian was not in a hurry. He first let the fox ancestor and Hu Yingbo catch up. After all, they had not seen each other for 100 years. However, Luolua's father had come to find the fox ancestor. Yixian had searched the entire fox clan, but no one knew him. This was somewhat regrettable. The 5 Poison Divine Sect was destroyed by Yixian. In a way, he had saved the 100 Beast region. Therefore, the various large clans gathered a large amount of treasures and gave them to Yixian as a reward. This time, although Yixian's cultivation level did not increase, the cooldown of Unicorn's descent was restored. As for the resurrected fox ancestor, after a few days of catching up with Hu Yingbo, he came to help Luoluo study the heaven-loathed fox bloodline. Hu Lingqing was 1 realm higher than Hu Yingbo. Her bloodline was also more noble than Hu Yinggua's. Therefore, she made more discoveries than Hu Yinggua. Yixian waited in the secret room. As long as he could succeed, he would not mind waiting half a year. After all, he was not in a hurry. However, on the 10th day of Hu Lingqing's research, "Senior, how is it?" Yixian could not help but ask. He had been asking once a day for the past few days. "I have a way, but I'm afraid I'll have to let the little girl reincarnate once more to suppress the heaven-loathed fox bloodline." Hu Lingqing said to Yixian. "You have a way? But she has to reincarnate once?" Yixian asked with a frown. "Yes, my hidden spirit fox bloodline is second only to the heaven-loathed fox bloodline. In addition to my cultivation level, I have a 90% chance of suppressing it. Even if it doesn't succeed, it will only be reincarnation once." Hu Lingqing nodded. Luolua was only 17 years old. To someone like her who had lived for tens of thousands of years, this was just a blink of an eye. Even if it failed, it was nothing. She would just have to grow again. 90% chance. Yixian narrowed his eyes and looked at Luoluo. Luoluo was very happy to hear that there was a way, but she was also a little hesitant. After all, she still had half a year to wait. Therefore, they decided to wait first. Yixian's second clone was still in the land of reincarnation. He communicated with Hu Xing'er, but to Yixian's surprise, Hu Xing'er agreed immediately. Of course, this was on the premise that Luoluo also agreed. Then Yixian told Luoluo about Hu Xing'er's decision. "Mother agreed." Luoluo muttered. At this time, Hu Lingqing suddenly said, "You still have half a year. I have a 90% chance now, but as time passes, the heaven-loathed fox bloodline in your body will gradually awaken. When that time comes, I don't know how confident I will be." Yixian and Luoluo were shocked when they heard this. When the heavenly tribulation was near, the heaven-loathed fox bloodline in Luolua's body would definitely be on a different level. When that time came, the difficulty would definitely increase. Chapter 1598. Simply put, it was best to make a decision as soon as possible. Otherwise, the success rate would decrease. Yixian originally wanted to raise his cultivation level and help Luoluo get through this crisis. But now it seemed like he didn't have time. He might be able to break through to the Heaven Ascension realm in a few months, but what if he couldn't suppress the heaven-loathing fox bloodline? Then wouldn't Luoluo have to reincarnate? But then it would just be an ordinary reincarnation. "Okay, I've decided." Luoluo thought about it and replied. Yixian didn't say anything. After all, this was Luolua's decision. But although she had already decided, Luoluo still returned to the land of reincarnation through the planting space and stayed with Hu Xing'er for a few days. 3 days later, she returned and prepared to reincarnate. The previous person who helped her reincarnate was Hu Xing'er, who was at the peak of the 9th level of the samsara realm. This time, the person who helped her reincarnate was Hu Lingqing, who had the hidden spirit fox bloodline, and was at the 5th level of the undying soul realm. As long as she succeeded this time, Luoluo wouldn't need to fear the heavenly tribulation when she was 18 years old. And if Yixian was given 18 years, he might be able to fight against the heavens. By then, he would definitely have a solution. Fortunately, Luolua's physical body was at the 3rd level of the undying soul realm. Otherwise, it would be difficult for her to reincarnate. As for the reincarnation ceremony, it wasn't complicated. The location was in the secret room. Hu Lingqing, who had the hidden spirit fox bloodline, used her own methods on Luolua's soul and helped her reincarnate. Ding! Hu Lingqing is trying to help Luoluo reincarnate. Do you agree? Luoluo was Yixian's possession. If someone wanted to do anything to her, they had to get Yixian's permission. Yixian paused when he heard the notification. Then he said in his mind, "Agree." Hua! Luoluo, who was standing in the middle of the secret room, suddenly fell to the ground. But before that, a strange energy suddenly appeared in her head. This energy wasn't Luolua's soul, but the reincarnation intent. This reincarnation intent doesn't need to wander between heaven and earth. It can enter the pregnant person's body. Hu Lingqing took out a lantern and placed the reincarnation intent into it. "Thank you, Senior." Yixian took the lantern and looked at the wheel of samsara within it. He sighed slightly. The matter had finally come to an end. Next, he had to insert the wheel of samsara into the body of a pregnant woman. Yixian had originally thought of the land of reincarnation or the Fox tribe. However, the people of the Fox tribe were of high realms and the Fox tribe bloodline was too thick. It was easy for them to break Hu Lingqing's seal. Land of Reincarnation's 100 Fox Manor was the same. Hence, Yixian immediately had an idea, which was Blood Rock Continent's Silverwing City. The Silverwing City Master was Luolua's father in this life. It shouldn't be difficult for him to find a pregnant Fox tribe woman. The environment there was extremely poor. Originally, the Bloodstone continent did not even have a manifestation realm expert. Previously, Silverwing City's city lord had only been a prime. His bloodline density was extremely low. At that time, Hu Xing'er had also carried this idea and found the Bloodstone continent. Yixian immediately sent the lantern containing Luolua's will of samsara into the planting space. He also did the same for Luolua's physical body. He was prepared to bring it back to Hu Xing'er. Then, his second clone in the land of reincarnation's 100 Fox Manor took it out. Senior, I'll leave Luolua's physical body to you. I'll return to the Bloodstone continent to help Luolua's birth. After Yixian handed Luolua's physical body to Hu Xing'er, he immediately set off for the Bloodstone continent. The Eye of the Void, which had been upgraded to the Immortal Eye level, could locate more than 10 times. With his current realm, he could directly break through the void from the land of reincarnation to the Lu family's teleportation array. However, what surprised him was that he had just returned to the Penglai sacred land when something happened that made him pale with fright. Whoosh! Yixian used the Lu family's teleportation array to teleport back to the Penglai sacred land. However, just as he landed, something strange happened. Kacha! The lantern in the planting space suddenly shattered. Then the will of samsara appeared out of thin air. Yixian was shocked. It happened so suddenly that even he couldn't react in time. While he was still in shock, Luolua's will of samsara suddenly flew out of the landing point and headed north. What? Yixian's eyes widened. He immediately chased after it. His original body and clone shared the same realm. Although his second clone had been guarding Lianyun City, it was already at the Undying Stage 2 Soul Realm. But his speed was actually far from catching up to the speed of the samsara will sweeping away. In an instant, the will of samsara disappeared into the horizon. F*CK, what's going on? Why did Luolua's will of samsara suddenly fly away? Yixian couldn't imagine what had happened to him. After all, Luoluo had already turned into the will of samsara. She couldn't control it at all. There must be an external force involved to attract Luolua's will of samsara. Could it be the Eye of Reincarnation? Damn it! Yixian cursed. He would kill whoever dared to absorb Luolua's will of samsara. However, the will of samsara was so fast that he couldn't catch up with it. Moreover, he didn't have any clues. This was troublesome. Old Immortal Tianju. Yes, I should ask Old Immortal Tianju. Yixian suddenly thought of someone. He immediately broke through the void and came to the cross-realm teleportation gate that led to Blood Rock Continent. After returning to Blood Rock Continent, he flew back to Lianyun City and rushed to Wasteland. This series of actions took less than 2 seconds. He was already a frequent visitor to Wasteland. After entering, he immediately used his spiritual awareness. Before he could speak, Old Immortal Tianju's voice sounded. Come in. Yixian quickly entered the light pillar and found Old Immortal Tianju. What's the matter? Old Immortal Tianju couldn't help but ask when he saw Yixian. Yixian was already at the Undying Stage 2 Soul Realm. However, he still couldn't see through Old Immortal Tianju. It seemed that Old Immortal Tianju was really at the Ascending Heaven Realm. Senior, it's like this. Yixian quickly told him what had just happened. After listening, Old Immortal Tianju raised his eyebrows and said, The will of samsara left on its own. North? He was also a little surprised. This kind of thing should not happen very often. He sensed for a moment. In the end, his old eyes widened. This. Old Immortal Tianju was stunned. He couldn't believe it and thought to himself, how did it go there? Senior, how is it? Yixian noticed that Old Immortal Tianju's expression was a little strange and asked anxiously. You don't have to worry about the will of samsara being absorbed. She's very safe. She just had a fortuitous encounter. Old Immortal Tianju replied. Fortuitous encounter? A will of samsara has a fortuitous encounter? Chapter 1599. I can't tell you the details, but she went to the center of the Penglai sacred land and will be born soon. If you want to find her, go to the Penglai goblin tribe, Elder Immortal Tianju said. The center of the Penglai sacred land, the Penglai goblin tribe. How did Luoluo get born there? Yixian didn't know. But he was relieved when Elder Immortal Tianju said that Luoluo was safe. But what about the heaven-loathing fox bloodline? You don't have to worry, her goblin tribe bloodline might overpower the fox tribe bloodline. Elder Immortal Tianju saw the doubt on Yixian's face and added. In this way, Yixian was completely at ease. It seemed that Luoluo had encountered a good thing, much better than being born in an ordinary fox tribe bloodline. He just didn't know what Elder Immortal Tianju was talking about. Thank you, Elder, I will take my leave. Yixian thanked him and left. Elder Immortal Tianju waited for Yixian to leave, then looked into the distance and suddenly shed 2 streams of tears. Yixian, who had rushed into the vast wilderness with fear, came out with peace of mind. At the same time, his clone in the Luguang sacred land told Hu Xing'er what happened. Hu Xing'er was shocked when she heard that her daughter suddenly flew away, but with the assurance of an expert, it wasn't a problem. However, Elder Immortal Tianju only said that Luoluo was born in the Penglai goblin tribe. Penglai sacred land. Penglai goblin tribe. It was inevitable that the two were related. Yixian guessed that the Penglai goblin tribe was the master of the Penglai sacred land. Yixian's plan was to bring Lela's reincarnation willpower back to the Bloodrock continent, and bring it back to Lianyun City or 100 Fox Manor after Luoluo was reborn. Now that there was a sudden change, it seemed that he had to look for the Penglai goblin tribe. Immediately, his original body and first doppelganger quickly returned to the Penglai sacred land and headed north. As for the second clone, he continued to stay in Lianyun City to take care of things. This journey took 7 days. During these 7 days, he had also investigated the Penglai demon tribe. The Penglai demon tribe was one of the great overlords of the Penglai Holy Land. The center of the Penglai demon tribe was the place where the true experts resided. At this time, Yixian had already arrived at the center of Penglai through the teleportation array. The center of Penglai was dominated by the demon clan. There were not many humans, but under normal circumstances, the demon clan maintained their human form, which was more convenient. Yixian had come into contact with the demon race before. They were a very powerful race. Even if they couldn't defeat them in their human form, they could still transform into their true form. They were much stronger than Tong Tian beasts. Therefore, Yixian had to be more careful this time. After pondering for a moment, Yixian quickly entered the center of the Penglai sacred land. Although Luoluo had left her physical body, she was still Yixian's physical body. The system didn't remove the master-servant relationship between her and Yixian, so Yixian could still sense Luoluo. However, it was very weak, and he could only barely sense her direction. Therefore, she was probably very far away. However, this was already very good. This made Yixian feel at ease. Luoluo's direction was slightly north of the Penglai sacred land, so Yixian directly rushed in that direction. It had to be said that compared to the center of the Penglai sacred land, the 100 Beast territory was very barren. After Yixian stepped into this territory, he relied on the Eye of Revelation and found many heavenly treasures. After rushing for half a day, his harvest was comparable to the Qiankuan ring of the Undying Soul realm. Of course, this was all thanks to the Eye of Revelation. If it was an ordinary person, it wouldn't have been easy to find. The center of the Penglai sacred land was rich, but it was also very dangerous. After all, this place was not on the same level as the 5 Poison territory and the 100 Beast territory. 6th-stage Undying Soul Realm cultivators were not rare here. If he walked a little further, he would probably be able to see them. Yixian was now thinking of leveling up all the way. However, just half a day after he entered the center of the Penglai demon clan, a sudden loud rumble attracted his attention. Is someone fighting? Yixian narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but stop in his tracks. He decided to go and take a look. If there was a battle, there would be death. This was an opportunity for him to take advantage of. However, when he got closer, he realized that the people fighting were not weak. They were at least 4th-stage Undying Soul Realm cultivators. The strongest was even 6th-stage Undying Soul Realm cultivators. The center of the Penglai sacred land was indeed not to be underestimated. As far as the eye could see, Yixian saw two groups of people fighting. There were also some huge figures fighting in the sky. Giant dragons and sky dragons? Yixian was a little surprised. He saw that the huge figures were sky dragons and giant dragons. However, the sky dragons were fighting with the giant dragons. Coincidentally, some of the people fighting suddenly transformed into their original forms. Some transformed into giant dragons, and some transformed into sky dragons. What is this situation? Are the two clans fighting? Yixian raised his eyebrows. He could join in a battle of this level. However, it seemed that there was no need for him to do so now. Moreover, the situation was one-sided. The sky dragons were not the giant dragons' opponents at all, and were directly suppressed. The corpses on the ground were all sky dragons' corpses. Demonic Dragon Palace, it's fine that you betrayed my Penglai demon clan, but you actually helped those evil holy lands. Even if I die, I will kill you all. An old man roared at the sky. Humph, you sky dragons are a bunch of stubborn old men. You want to kill me? It won't be that easy. A young man on the giant dragon's side sneered. Both of them were 6th-stage Undying Soul Realm cultivators. Their strength was not much different. However, the rest of the sky dragon's side could not hold on for long. As people died, the giant dragon's side gained more and more advantage. It was estimated that in another 10 seconds, the sky dragon's side would be destroyed. In the distance, Yixian was carefully observing the battle. Anyway, this matter had nothing to do with him. However, he could hear from the old man's words that the giant dragons seemed to be traitors and had joined forces with other evil holy lands. Compared to the sky dragon's side, they were considered evil. It seemed that Yixian had also found an opportunity to make a move. Evil holy lands. Are they referring to the holy lands outside of the Penglai holy lands? Yixian secretly said in his heart. However, he had only heard of the Penglai holy lands and the Glazed Light holy lands, as well as the mini sky dragon's life holy land. As for those evil holy lands, he had never heard of them. However, at this moment, ding, the host has triggered the Dragon Slayer title mission. The first round of the mission is to kill 10,000 giant dragons of the same level. A system prompt suddenly sounded. Hearing this, Yixian could not help but raise his eyebrows. What the hell was a title mission? This was the first time he had encountered such a mission. However, when he saw the attributes of the Dragon Slayer title, he could not help but gulp. Chapter 1600. Dragon Slayer title. Increase all attributes of the host by 30% and double the damage to dragons. This effect was very good. Not only was the damage to dragons doubled, but there was also a 30% increase in all attributes. This was enough for Yixian to do his best. But where the hell was he going to find 10,000 dragons of the same level? But at this time, he realized that it was not necessary to kill 10,000 dragons of the same level. If he killed high-level dragons, then the number would be reduced. He was currently at the 2nd stage of the Undying Soul Realm. If he wanted to kill a 2nd stage Undying Soul Realm dragon, he would need 10,000. But if he wanted to kill a 3rd stage Undying Soul Realm dragon, he would only need 2,000. 4th level of the Undying Soul Realm 400. 5th level of the Undying Soul Realm 80. 6th level of the Undying Soul Realm 16. Anyway, it was one level higher, so it was equivalent to 5 times the lower level. This way it was much simpler. It doesn't seem too difficult. Yixian thought in his heart, and then directly took out his weapon. More than 10 days had passed since the last battle, and his hands were already itching. At the same time, Old Tree and the other two were the same. They had been rubbing their hands, waiting for Yixian's order. Target all dragons, kill. At this time, Yixian suddenly shouted in a low voice, and then his whole body burst out. After Old Tree and the other two received the order, they followed closely behind Yixian and killed their way out. Unfortunately, the 4th level of the Undying Soul Realm did not attract much attention. There were more than 100 people participating in this battle. If the corpses on the ground were included, the total number was more than 500. Their lowest level was the 4th level of the Undying Soul Realm. What difference would it make if there were more? However, Old Tree and the other two's strength could not be described as normal. The aura of dragons and heavenly dragons was very similar, but relatively speaking, when dragons transformed into human form, their aura was more violent than heavenly dragons. In addition, both sides had differences in clothing, so Old Tree would not kill the wrong person. Canyon. Old Tree was the first to charge in. He flashed to the back of a giant dragon's head and punched out. The Old Tree, who was at the 4th stage of the Undying Soul Realm, coupled with the buff from Remnant Flame, was able to explode the head of a giant dragon with a single punch. Bang! The dragon's head exploded, and it died on the spot. The monsters were different from the Heavenspan beasts. When the heaven-reaching beasts died, their souls would directly dissipate. However, when the Yao clan died, their souls would only leave their bodies. If they didn't have the means to erase their souls, they could still turn into wandering souls and escape. However, Yi Xian's Nihility Flame Sword Ripple was a growth-type sacred art. Even though he was only at the 2nd level of the Undying Spirit Realm, it was enough to obliterate a 6th-level Undying Spirit Realm soul. Of course, if the Soul Realm was higher, for example, the 8th stage of the Undying Soul Realm with Yi Xian's current realm, he wouldn't be able to kill him. Who is it? Seeing Old Tree blow up the head of a giant dragon of the same level with a single punch, a nearby sky dragon widened his eyes, not understanding the situation. However, since Old Tree had killed a giant dragon, he should be helping the sky dragons. At this time, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian had also entered the battlefield. The two of them cooperated and directly killed a 5th-level Undying Spirit Realm giant dragon. The 6th-level Undying Spirit Realm expert on the giant dragon's side was held back by the sky dragon's old man. Therefore, Yi Xian and the rest didn't need to help for the time being. They would kill the majority first. At the same time, Yi Xian also allowed Ghost Dome Great Emperor to activate his Undying Battle Soul, increasing all his attributes by 2 times. With Old Tree, Ghost Dome Great Emperor, and Wei Zhentian joining the battle, the situation instantly changed. The sky dragons, who were originally suppressed, directly felt the pressure reduced by more than half. Not only that, in just a short 5 seconds, dozens of giant dragons had fallen, including 3 5th-level Undying Spirit Realm giant dragons. Who is it? The 6th-level Undying Spirit Realm expert on the giant dragon's side had a gloomy expression. He suddenly had a bad premonition. If these mysterious forces attacked him, he wouldn't be able to stop them. Go! This expert made a prompt decision. After roaring to the sky, he directly transformed into his giant dragon form. Want to leave? Kill him. Yi Xian immediately transmitted a message to Ghost Dome Great Emperor. After activating his Undying Battle Soul, Ghost Dome Great Emperor's strength couldn't be underestimated. Not to mention, this giant dragon at the 6th level of the Undying Soul Realm was equivalent to more than 600 giant dragons at the 2nd level of the Undying Soul Realm. In addition, Yi Xian had already completed a quarter of the title quest. Xiu! Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian directly flew towards the 6th level Undying Spirit Realm giant dragon, and instantly intercepted him. Get lost! This giant dragon roared to the sky and directly spat out a dragon breath towards Ghost Dome Great Emperor. This giant dragon was a fire dragon of the giant dragon race. With his cultivation realm, the dragon breath he spat out was enough to kill a 5th-level Undying Spirit Realm expert. However, Ghost Dome Great Emperor directly rushed towards the dragon breath with his sword and actually cut it in half. Hoo! Ghost Dome Great Emperor directly rushed into the giant dragon's mouth. After that, a crisp sound was heard as he killed his way out of the giant dragon's head. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. Yi Xian heard the system notification sound from afar. Immediately after, he quickly added a few more slashes. This giant dragon's soul was obliterated, but the elegy of soul's amplification increased by a little. Now that their leader was dead, the rest of the dragons were without a leader, and they immediately dispersed. Unfortunately, how could Yi Xian let them off so easily? In less than a few seconds, all the giant dragons were killed. Yi Xian glanced at the Dragon Slayer title mission, and noticed that he had already completed a quarter of it. As for these giant dragons' corpses, Old Tree couldn't refine and Yi Xian couldn't devour them because they were from the demon race. Hence, they were too lazy to care about them. However, Yi Xian naturally wouldn't miss out on their yin and yang rings. Many thanks for everyone's help. This old man is Kuboan. The Heavenly Dragon Race's 6th stage Undying Soul Realm old man came forward and cupped his fists towards Old Tree. It's fine. He's just a passerby. Yi Xian said slowly and continued to collect the yin and yang rings. This made Kuboin a little surprised. He immediately realized that the one in charge wasn't the old tree, but Yi Xian. Your Excellency's strength is amazing. This old man earnestly requests that Your Excellency escort us back to our race. Kuboin went straight to the point. Yi Xian stopped and looked at Kuboin as he said, I don't do things without a reward. Unless you can take out something that interests me. Kuboin paused for a moment. He recalled that he had to inform his superiors as soon as possible. Hence he gritted his teeth and took out an item from his yin and yang rings. This item was the strange flame lantern that Yi Xian once possessed. Within this strange flame lantern was a red lotus-shaped flame. Chapter 1601. Previously, Yi Xian had also obtained quite a number of deviant flames. However, most of them were devoured directly. The higher-ranked deviant flames would overshadow the lower-ranked ones. At this moment, the heavenly flame within Yi Xian's body was only ranked 41st. The difference was too great. Moreover, devouring the deviant flames did not benefit Yi Xian much. However, to the old tree the benefits were significant. The Red Lotus Hellfire, ranked 33rd, was extremely precious. Who would have thought that Kuboin, who was only at the 6th stage of the Undying Soul realm, would be able to obtain it? Before Yi Xian could speak, someone stepped forward and said, Grandpa, didn't you say you would give it to me? Shut up. If not for these people we would all be dead today. What's more, this Red Lotus Hellfire? Kuboin rebuked angrily. Yi Xian glanced at the disgruntled youth and nodded. All right, I accept. Although this was not a random mission, the Red Lotus Hellfire was indeed a good one. Of course, Yi Xian guessed that these heavenly dragons were being hunted down. Perhaps some giant dragons would appear along the way. This would save him the trouble of looking for them. Hearing Yi Xian's agreement, Kuboin's eyes lit up. He threw the deviant flame lantern containing the Red Lotus Hellfire to Yi Xian. After Yi Xian received it, he devoured the Red Lotus Hellfire without hesitation. This kind of flame greatly increased Old Shu's strength, increasing his strength by quite a bit. Our tribe is nearby. We can reach it in about 3 days. However, we may encounter some giant dragons along the way, Kuboin said. 3 days? Sure. Yi Xian nodded in response. Kuboin transformed back into his original form and let everyone sit on his back. Then they continued on their way. Yi Xian and the rest also leaped onto his back and sat quietly. He had gained a lot from the battle just now. If he could do it another 2 times, he would probably be able to break through. However, he was thinking too much. The rest of the journey was very smooth. There were no obstacles. During this time, Yi Xian also learned about the situation in Penglai Central. The center of the Penglai sacred land was originally dominated by the Penglai demon tribe. However, after the demon emperor of the Penglai demon tribe fell, the demon tribe began to fight for the position of demon emperor. During this time, the giant dragon clan betrayed the Penglai demon clan and established their own faction, which was named the Demonic Dragon Palace. Following that, the people from the other sacred grounds entered the Penglai sacred ground, preparing to fight for the rights to the Penglai sacred ground. Therefore, the center of the Penglai sacred land was now divided into 2 camps. One side was led by the Glazed Knights, the Penglai demon race, and the Tianjue Palace. The other side was led by experts from the Blood Fiend, Xiayang, and Shirgu Holy Lands. Among them, the colossal dragon clan had rebelled and joined the Blood Fiend Holy Land. And this time, the Heavenly Dragon clan found out about the enemy's strategic distribution. That was why they were hunted down. If this news were to spread, the higher-ups would send experts to uproot these strongholds, which would kill many enemies. Yi Xian was not interested in the power struggle of the Penglai sacred land, but when he heard the names of the Glazed Knights and the Tianjue Palace, he could not help but tremble. He suddenly recalled the glazed mirage that day. The mini heavenly dragon came out of that glazed mirage. Was the owner of the glazed mirage fairy glazed, related to the Glazed Knights? After all, the glazed mirage was also in the Penglai sacred land. As for the Tianjue Palace, was it related to old immortal Tianju? Thinking of this, Yi Xian could not help but gulp. He did not expect to have come into contact with such an expert. It was really incredible. I wonder if Senior has heard of the Life Sacred Land? At this time, Yi Xian suddenly asked Kuboin. Life Sacred Land? That is one of the 4 largest sacred lands in this world, and its ownership is in the hands of the Life Sacred Sect, Kuboan replied. One of the 4 largest sacred lands? Yixian raised his eyebrows. The mini heavenly dragon from before was going to the Life Sacred Lands Life Sacred sect. He did not expect the mini heavenly dragon to have such a background. Then Fairy Glazed, who had beaten him back to his original form, naturally had a background, so Yixian guessed that Fairy Glazed was most likely related to the Glazed Knights. Immediately, he asked about the Glazed Knights in the Tianjua Palace, but although Kuboan had lived for 10,000 years, he did not know much about these 2 forces. He had only heard of their names. These forces were not to be underestimated. They were all transcending heaven forces, so it was understandable that he had not come into contact with them. Very quickly 3 days passed. After 3 days, Yixian successfully escorted the Heavenly Dragon clan to his clan. It seemed that Yixian's escort mission was completed. He originally thought that he would encounter the Dragon clan, then he could go on a killing spree, but he did not expect that it would be peaceful. Since that was the case, Yixian was ready to leave and look for the Dragon clan himself. Senior, since you have returned, I will leave first, Yixian said to Kuboan. This? Kuboan paused, but after seeing Yixian's solemn expression, he could only cup his fists and say, Thank you for the journey. Farewell. After Yixian finished speaking, he directly left with Old Tree and the other 2. During the escort, he also took a map of the Dragon clan's base distribution from Kuboan, preparing to personally enter the opponent's territory to level up. Although this distribution map was obtained by Kuboan and the others with great difficulty, it did not matter if it spread. After all, they had been spreading this distribution map along the way to warn the other monster clans to be careful. However, not long after Yixian left, an army of dragons suddenly approached Kuboan's Heavenly Dragon clan. This army of dragons was not large. Although there were only 1,000 of them, each of them was an expert at least of the Undying Soul Realm, and the leader had reached the Undying Soul Realm of the Undying Soul Realm. As for Kuboan's Heavenly Dragon clan, the strongest was only at the Undying Soul Realm of the Undying Soul Realm. In addition to Kuboan, there were 2 other experts of the same level. After learning this news, Kuboan's expression changed, and he quickly distributed the distribution map. That's a good trick, you actually got our strategic base map, but so what, none of you can leave today. Kill, don't let a single one go. After the leader of the dragons finished speaking, he directly transformed into his original form and rushed towards the Heavenly Dragon clan. Facing such a strong opponent, the Heavenly Dragon clan's clansmen all showed a look of despair. Although their clan had a total of more than 100,000 heavenly dragons, there were only 500 of them with Undying Soul Realm of the Undying Soul Realm and above, and there was not a single one with Undying Soul Realm of the Undying Soul Realm. Today they were finished. Go, we must spread the map. Kuboan shouted, and together with the other 2 experts of the same level, they charged towards the opponent. Humph, if I let you spread the news, I'm afraid many of my dragon clan will die. I can't let you succeed. The flame dragon opened his mouth and directly spat out a mouthful of dragon breath. Chapter 1602. Block it! Kuboan shouted. He had already transformed into his original form. Facing this powerful dragon breath, he mustered all his strength and spat out a mouthful of heavenly dragon's breath. Giant dragons and heavenly dragons were the 2 top branches of the dragon clan. Their strength was equally matched. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Dragon clan's combat power was insufficient. After a wave of Heavenly Dragon's breath attack, groups of Heavenly Dragons fell. The commotion was so great that it was as if the end of the world had arrived. Yixian, who had just left, also heard the loud rumbling. Young master, it seems that something has happened to the Heavenly Dragon clan. Old Tree reminded him. Yes. Yixian nodded and pondered in his heart. Although his escort mission was completed, the huge commotion coming from behind at this time was very likely to be caused by the giant dragons attacking the Heavenly Dragon tribe. Perhaps he did not need to find the giant dragons personally. Let's go. Yixian immediately led Old Tree, and the other 2 toward the Heavenly Dragon clan. When they arrived, they found a large number of corpses on the ground. Almost all of them belonged to the Heavenly Dragon clan. Thousands of giant dragons. That's enough for me to kill. Go. Yixian did not hesitate. He estimated that this time, he could at least complete the first round of the title mission. At the same time, he could definitely break through to the Undying Soul realm. Undying Fighting Soul. Sword Blade Storm. Killing Feast. Yixian and the others went all out and killed their way into the enemy's territory. Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian, who had activated their Undying Fighting Soul, had their attributes doubled. In addition to the Sword Blade Storm and the sneak attack, when the blood sword swept over, they instantly took the lives of thousands of Undying Soul Realm giant dragons. Their killing intent soared instantly. At the same time, the Killing Feast's amplification had also doubled. One had to know that the Killing Feast's amplification had an effect on the Sword Blade Storm. The power of the Sword Blade Storm had doubled in an instant. Whoosh! 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 In the air the wind whistled. The Sword Blade Storm had just swept into the Heavenly Dragon Clan and killed more than half of the enemies. It was fine if these monsters did not transform into their original forms. But once they did, Yixian's attacks would deal double the damage. What? The leader of the giant dragons was shocked. What the hell was this? How did they kill so many of his subordinates in an instant? Not only that, but the blood swords also posed a threat to him. Go. He didn't dare to slow down and immediately turned around to leave. However, two figures blocked his path from behind. These two figures were the Old Tree and Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Gang fights are my favorite. Die. The corners of Yixian's mouth slightly curled up. In the next moment, the group of blood swords gathered towards the giant dragon in the lead. Countless blood swords flew out, instantly obliterating the leading giant dragon as well as the several powerful giant dragons beside it. This battle ended too quickly. The Heavenly Dragon Clan's people did not react in time. Thousands of giant dragons were enough to annihilate the Heavenly Dragon Clan of close to 100,000 people. But now, thousands of giant dragons were annihilated in less than 10 seconds. This change was too big. Everyone's mouth was wide open as they looked at the giant dragon corpses. At this moment, the eye of all things suddenly condensed in the sky. Then, the universe rings in the giant dragon corpses all gathered in Yixian's direction. Ding! Host has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul 3rd stage. Ding! Spirit of Huijin has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul 5th stage. Ding! Wei Zhentian has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul 5th stage. Ding! Ghost Dome Great Emperor has broken through. Current level is Undying Soul 5th stage. 4 consecutive system notifications rang. Yixian and the rest broke through. At this moment, Yixian's Killing Feast's amplification had increased by more than 4 times. With their current realm, they could already kill an Undying Soul 8th stage expert. With the addition of the Sword Blade Storm, they could even fight with a 9th stage expert. It was a pity that the duration of the Undying Battle Soul, Sword Blade Storm, and Killing Feast would soon expire. Their strength was only temporary. I really hope it comes a few more times. The corners of Yixian's mouth curled up slightly. He couldn't help but take a glance and found that the amplification of the Elegy of Souls had increased to 100. This battle was a big win. At the same time, the first round of the Dragon Slayer title mission had been completed. Moreover, it had greatly exceeded the requirements. Just now, Yixian's mind was filled with the notifications of the increase in killing intent. The notification of the completion of the first round of the title mission was naturally overshadowed. However, the second round of the Dragon Slayer title mission had yet to appear. When the group of Heavenly Dragon Clan members saw that the crisis had been averted, all of their gazes gathered on Yixian. This time, if it weren't for Yixian and the rest, they were afraid that their entire clan would have been annihilated. However, even so, the clan leader of the Undying Soul 6th stage had fallen. Only Kuboan and another expert of the same level were left. At this time they were so shocked that they couldn't speak. They didn't know what words they could use to repay Yixian. Your Excellency, I can't thank you enough for your kindness. Please accept this old man's bow. Kuboan paused for a moment, then directly knelt on the ground with one knee. Although many people in the Heavenly Dragon Clan had soul seeds, if they were all killed at once, the Heavenly Dragon Clan would be considered extinct. Even if they were resurrected, it would take hundreds or thousands of years. Moreover, many people had not condensed their soul seeds, or were still condensing their soul seeds after being resurrected once. Senior, you seem to have gotten into big trouble. You should quickly migrate the entire clan and leave. Yixian said to Kuboan, at the same time using the power of all creations to help him up. Yes, we're preparing to migrate to a nearby city. That way, the giant dragon clan won't dare to come so easily. Kuboan nodded. However, just as he finished speaking, a black figure suddenly appeared in the sky. Immediately after, an arrogant and unruly voice sounded. Migrate? Today none of you can leave. When the voice fell into the ears of Yixian and the others, they couldn't help but turn to look, only to see a black-robed youth standing in the air. When the voice sounded, Yixian also sensed the aura of this black-robed youth. He was at the 7th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. What a joke! The leader of the giant dragons just now was also at the 7th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. But hadn't he also been killed by Yixian? However, Yixian could sense that this youth couldn't be compared to that person just now. What a strong aura of death. This person is not simple. Yixian raised an eyebrow. At this time, the effects of Bladestorm and the other skills had already passed, and so had the Killing Feast's 4-fold amplification. Otherwise, Yixian would have directly ordered Wei Zhentian to kill this youth. However, at this moment, Di Hui, he's Di Hui, ranked 109th on the Dragon Demon list. Chapter 1603. Demonic Dragon List? When these 3 words fell into the ears of the others, their bodies suddenly trembled. The Dragon Demon list recorded the rankings of those bloodthirsty colossal dragons below the heavenly completion realm. Every single person on the list was from the colossal dragon clan, and they were all infamous. Although this Di Hui was only ranked 109th, he could not be underestimated. This Di Hui had once slaughtered countless heavenly dragons and other monster tribes. Although his realm was at the 7th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, his strength was comparable to an 8th layer Undying Soul Realm expert. He was very difficult to deal with. Most importantly, he had a pair of eyes of death that he had cultivated for many years. Ding! The second round of the Dragon Slayer title mission has been triggered. Kill Di Hui. In Yixian's mind, a system notification suddenly sounded. The mission had finally come. I didn't expect to be recognized. The corner of the black-clothed youth's mouth slightly raised. Even experts of the same level weren't worth mentioning in front of him, let alone heavenly dragons who were only at the 6th layer of the Undying Soul Realm. When his voice fell, a huge eye suddenly condensed in the sky. This was the eyes of death. Huh? Yixian raised his eyebrows. Before he could react, the dragon corpses on the ground all stood up. Some were giant dragons, but most of them were heavenly dragons. The patriarch of the heavenly dragons stood up, and even the giant dragon who was at the 7th layer of the Undying Soul Realm stood up. Fuck! Yixian jumped in fright and hurriedly ordered Ghost Dome Great Emperor to use the Will of Death. Ghost Dome Great Emperor was at the 5th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, but the giant dragons and heavenly dragons below that fell to the ground again. As for those above the 5th layer of the Undying Soul Realm, there was no way. Oh? Will of Death? The black-clothed youth Di Hui didn't dare to believe it. With his realm, someone could actually seize control of the battle corpses from him. They had some ability. At the same time, he knew that this was done by Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Tear them apart. Di Hui directly ordered the dragon corpses above the 5th layer of the Undying Soul Realm. Although he didn't know how this dragon army was destroyed, it didn't matter. Anyway, these people would die in his hands. Damn it, kill them again. Yixian immediately gave orders to Old Tree and the others. Although the Massacre Feast, Undying Fighting Soul, and Sword Bladestorm could no longer be used, it was fortunate that the few of them had broken through. At that moment, the Old Tree who was at the Undying Soul Realm charged into the group of dragon corpses. As for the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian, they charged towards Di Hui. You want to fight me? Your realm is not high enough. Di Hui snorted and took out a dragon bone from his Qian Kuan ring. Then he used the Will of Death to awaken it. This dragon skeleton was also at the 7th stage Undying Soul Realm. But because it was an 8th stage Undying Soul Realm giant dragon when it was alive, its defensive power was extremely astonishing. In the blink of an eye, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian clashed with the dragon skeleton. As for Di Hui, he was standing in the air, overlooking the battle below him. No, it was not that he did not make a move. Instead, he controlled the Eye of Death and stared at those heavenly dragon people. The bodies of these heavenly dragon race people started to decay, and 10,000 people died in an instant. Bastard, see if I don't kill you. Yixian widened his eyes and marked Di Hui with the death hunting order. Then, he used the eye of assassination to appear behind Di Hui. Killing intent explosion. Nihility flame sword wave. Yixian personally moved out to attack Di Hui. Di Hui was slightly surprised. When he sensed the danger behind him, he did not turn his body. Instead, he activated his genuine qi and condensed a genuine qi shield on his back. Bang! The Nihility flame sword wave blasted on the genuine qi shield, but was unable to break it. The third level of the Undying Soul Realm and the seventh level of the Undying Soul Realm were 4 realms apart. In addition, Di Hui wasn't an ordinary person to begin with, so Yixian didn't succeed this time. The corners of Di Hui's mouth slightly curled up. Although he didn't know how Yixian was able to silently appear behind him, he didn't think much of it. After all, Yixian was only at the 3rd level of the Undying Soul Realm. He was not even afraid of the Undying Soul Realm. Why would he be afraid of Yixian, who was at the Undying Soul Realm? What a joke. Let's see how you block it. Just as Di Hui was feeling disdainful, Yixian's eyes suddenly flashed. A spatial crack was torn diagonally beside Di Hui's head. After feeling this aura, Di Hui's body suddenly trembled and he quickly retreated in fear. Rip. Unfortunately, he was one step too slow. With a crisp sound, his shoulder and arm were torn apart by the spatial crack. Black blood spurted out. Now Di Hui knew how Yixian managed to appear behind him. It must be the Eye of Space. So you have the Eye of Space. I have underestimated you. You're the first person to injure me in the past 1,000 years. Di Hui's expression turned solemn and ashen as if he had eaten poison. This was because Yixian was only at the Undying Soul Realm. This was his realm 10,000 years ago. Not only can I injure you, I can also kill you. Yixian's eyes flickered. In an instant, he slashed out several void flame sword ripples. At the same time, he activated the Eye of Space and tore apart 4 spatial cracks. However, this Di Hui wasn't an ordinary person. He who was at the 7th stage of the Undying Soul Realm could jump ranks to challenge an 8th stage Undying Soul Realm expert. How could he die here? Traceless Devil Shadow. Di Hui's figure instantly turned into a black flash and dodged Yixian's series of attacks. However, he could not avoid the Ghost Dome Great Emperor's move. Grip of Hell. When Di Hui stabilized his body, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor suddenly pulled at the void. A surge of energy firmly locked onto Di Hui. What? Di Hui was shocked once again. He felt that the tearing force was extremely powerful, and he seemed to be unable to break free. One had to know that the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was already at the Undying Soul Realm. He was only 2 realms away from Di Hui. At this moment, Di Hui was already pulled towards the Ghost Dome Great Emperor by the grip of hell. As for his dragon bone, it was intercepted by Wei Zhenqian and the old tree. As for the resurrected battle corpses, Kuboan and the others naturally helped them. You're indeed capable. No wonder you could annihilate a giant dragon legion. It seems that if I don't show my true strength today, I will be looked down upon by you all. After Di Hui finished speaking coldly, his body suddenly expanded rapidly and finally turned into a huge black dragon. He was the death demon dragon of the giant dragon clan. He was born with a pair of eyes of death. His battle strength was extremely powerful. At the same time, this was the first time in 1,000 years that he was forced to transform into his true form. When the Death Fiend dragon appeared, a deathly aura spread out, and the battle corpses and bone dragons suddenly became stronger. This will of death can not only resurrect corpses, but it can also increase strength. Do you want to see how I'll deal with you? Chapter 1604. Yixian was already prepared to use his trump card. Now that the deathly demon dragon appeared, its huge body made it a huge target. Moreover, Di Hui could no longer use his true qi after transforming into his true form. Yixian also had Unicorn's deterrence, which doubled Di Hui's attack. Although Di Hui managed to break free from the grip of the underworld, what awaited him next was Yixian's trump card. Unicorn's Descent. Unicorn's Third Stomp. Let's see how you're going to survive this. Yixian immediately used his trump card. In an instant, a flaming hoof condensed in the air. Before the deathly demon dragon could react, the hoof stomped on its back. Bam! A huge muffled sound was heard as the deathly demon dragon's body fell from the sky. At the same time, its back was on fire. That was the flame formed by Unicorn's true chi, which had the effect of incinerating everything. Roar! The deathly demon dragon was severely injured. It roared at the sky, and its pained voice fell into everyone's ears. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yixian once again used Unicorn's Descent for the second time. Unicorn's Descent had now evolved twice. Each time it evolved, its power would increase, and it could use 3 stomps in a short period of time. The first Unicorn's Descent severely injured the deathly demon dragon. After the second Unicorn's Descent, the deathly demon dragon would be crippled even if it did not die. Bam! The flaming hoof landed on the same spot. This time it stomped directly into the deathly demon dragon's body. The deathly demon dragon's body was also on fire. Next was Unicorn's Descent's third stomp. Die! Yixian's eyes flashed. In the air, the third flaming hoof had already condensed and was about to land on the deathly demon dragon's head. Bam! Gotcha! The deathly demon dragon's head exploded, and Unicorn's flames instantly enveloped its entire head. Fortunately, Yixian used the power of all creations to envelop the deathly eyes. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. By the time the system notification rang out, the deathly demon dragon had already been stomped to death by Yixian. The arrogant person from before had now become a corpse that was gradually turning cold. This was retribution. After Death Demon Dragon Dihui died, his soul flew out. Yixian took a big stride forward and obliterated this soul. If Dihui did not have a soul seed, he would have truly died. Even if he had a soul seed, it would take him 100 years to revive. Then Yixian prepared to dig out his eyes of death. However, just as he was about to attack, the pair of eyes of death suddenly turned into 2 wisps of death will and rose into the air. What's the situation? Yixian did not react in time. Originally, he wanted to pluck the deathly demonic dragon and see if he could devour it. After all, this deathly demonic dragon Dihui was a demon. Who would have thought that these 2 eyes of death would actually transform into the will of death itself and rise into the sky? Although it was a pity Yixian also had the eye of death. He could also absorb the will of death. However, at this moment, a huge eye suddenly appeared in the sky. It was the eye of death. However, it was not condensed by Yixian. What? Yixian was shocked. Before he could react, the 2 wisps of death will rose into the sky. F***ck, how dare you touch my things? You're courting death. Yixian's eyes flashed. He directly used the eye of death to guide the 2 wisps of death will. This eye of death had a strong background. It directly absorbed the 2 wisps of death will. Yixian could only watch as the 2 wisps of death will were absorbed. He felt that he was in big trouble. This eye of death was not so easy to deal with. After the eye of death absorbed the will of death, its gaze fell on Yixian. Then its eyes flashed. F***ck, you really want to attack me? You? Yixian was furious. Although he felt that the eye of death was not to be trifled with, he would not fall so easily. Last time he was almost killed by the eye of death. This time he also had the eye of death and the immortal phoenix bloodline. It would not be so easy to kill him. The eye of death was surprised when it saw that it was ineffective against Yixian. Then it condensed a shadow in front of the eye of death. It was a masked young man with long hair. It was unknown whether he was a human or a deathly demon dragon like Dihui. You're only at the Undying Soul 3rd level and you're still alive. You're considered a top figure. However, you dare to steal my will of death. You're quite bold. The long-haired young man snorted and focused his attention on the dragon skeleton. Originally, this dragon skeleton was controlled by the Ghost Dome Great Emperor, after the death of deathly demon dragon Dihui. But now, it was seized by the long-haired young man. Moreover, the long-haired young man was like Dihui. He had the ability to raise the strength of the dead object under his control. The strength of this dragon skeleton was directly raised to the Undying Soul 8th level. If it had to be compared, it was now stronger than it was when it was alive. You want to kill me with just this bone dragon? Yixian swallowed all the things he got from Dihui. His aura suddenly soared. In the next moment, The figures of the old trees trio flashed and began to besiege the bone dragon. However, Yixian was afraid that Kuboan and the rest of the heavenly dragon tribe would be killed by the long-haired young man. What should he do? Yixian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that he had to destroy the Eye of Death. As long as this Eye of Death was destroyed, the long-haired young man would not be able to locate them. However, at this moment, a ray of white light suddenly swept over from afar. A wave of harmonious aura suddenly spread and enveloped everyone. In an instant, the bone dragon fell from the sky and was out of control. Seeing this, Yixian immediately went over and kept the dragon skeleton. It might be useful in the future. At this moment, the ray of white light arrived. Everyone focused their eyes and saw that it was a white-haired young man. The aura of death is the most annoying. Disperse. The white-haired young man snorted coldly. White light suddenly bloomed from his body and pierced the clouds. In an instant, the long-haired young man's phantom and the Eye of Death collapsed. Today's events were really one after another. As soon as Yixian left, he encountered the giant dragon army attacking the heavenly dragon tribe. Then the deathly demon dragon Dihui appeared. After the deathly demon dragon Dihui died, a long-haired young man with the Eye of Death appeared and stole the will of death. Finally, it was this white-haired young man. After the white light shone for 10,000 zhang, the Eye of Death collapsed. Yixian did not understand who this long-haired young man was, but he had a strange feeling about this white-haired young man. At this moment, the white-haired young man's gaze suddenly fell on Yixian. His eyes flashed with surprise. Chapter 1605. You are, Yixian frowned. He was sure that this was the first time he saw this white-haired youth. Moreover, this white-haired youth's realm seemed to be very high. He was probably an Undying Soul 9th stage expert. This was the first time Yixian had encountered such a level. You don't even remember me? We were teleported from Penglai Sacred Land to Lu Guang Sacred Land together. The white-haired youth laughed. The moment he said that, Yixian immediately reacted. Previously, he had been teleported together with a person, no, a dragon. It's you? Yixian instantly recognized him. This white-haired youth in front of him was the mini heavenly dragon that had saved his life several times. Yixian was very ashamed that he didn't even recognize his benefactor. However, he couldn't be blamed. After all, this white-haired youth was now in human form. Even if the Eye of Revelation had been upgraded to the Immortal Eye level, he still couldn't tell if the other party was a human or a demon. Therefore, it was understandable that he didn't recognize him. Haha, I didn't expect you to grow to such a stage in just a few years. Come, let's catch up. The white-haired youth laughed and turned to leave. Yixian glanced at Kuboan and then quickly followed. There were too many people here and it wasn't a good place to talk. Anyway, the matter had been resolved, so Yixian wasn't worried and left directly. On the way, the white-haired youth said to Yixian, "Kid, I'm called Capricious. My original form is a platinum holy light dragon." Capricious? What a good name. Yixian raised his eyebrows and thought to himself. However, he always thought that Capricious was a heavenly beast. He didn't expect him to be a demon. Now I'm here on a mission. Don't tell anyone about me. Capricious said to Yixian. Is it related to Fairy Luli? Yixian suddenly recalled this matter. Previously, wasn't the platinum holy light dragon beaten back to its original form by Fairy Luli, and then placed in the glazed mirage? That woman has some background. Later on, she probably found out about my identity. That's why she placed my eggs in such a broken place and you saved it. He snorted coldly and said, My return to the Penglai Divine Land this time is indeed related to this woman. As he finished speaking, he suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Yixian. What are you doing? Yixian raised an eyebrow. He felt that Caprice's current expression was very wretched. Something bad must have happened. I've saved you a few times before. Are you going to repay me now? The corners of his mouth curled into an evil smile. That's right. You've saved me a few times. As long as you ask, I'll do my best to help you. Yixian's expression suddenly turned serious. He would seek revenge for the smallest grievance, but at the same time, he also knew how to repay kindness. The first time he encountered Death's Eye, willfulness saved him. After Emo Shui massacred the Zhao family, he was almost killed by Emo Shui, but Caprice saved him. That was why he owed him twice. Now that the two of them had met again, it was time to pay him back. Okay, I've been waiting for you to say that. Caprice smiled and said, "It's a miracle that you can break through to the undying soul realm in such a short time. Even the elites of my life saint sect can't compare to you. Next, I want you to help me complete a mission." "What mission?" Yixian raised an eyebrow. "The first step is to join the Glazed Knights," Caprice replied. "Glazed Knights?" Hearing this name, Yixian immediately reacted and said, "Is this Glazed Knights related to Fairy Glazed?" "That's right. This Glazed Knights was established by that woman. I'm going to disguise myself and get close to her." Caprice nodded. "What mission is it?" Yixian asked again. "I got news that she has a map on her, so I came to investigate. She has only seen my original body, so this time I'm going to disguise myself and join the Glazed Knights." Caprice replied. "A map? A treasure map?" Yixian asked curiously. "Yes, it should be. I'm not sure. After all, it's just a rumor." Caprice shrugged. Yixian thought for a moment. Since Caprice asked, then he had to help. "Okay, but how can I join the Glazed Knights? I'm just the undying soul realm weakling," Yixian said with some self-mockery. "As long as you're not over 1,000 years old, you can sign up. You just need to pass the test." "No problem, I'll take you." Caprice suddenly rushed to Yixian's side and patted him on the shoulder, acting like a big brother. However, what surprised Yixian was that this platinum holy light dragon Caprice was actually not over 1,000 years old. His aptitude was really good. After all, before he was beaten back to his original form by Fairy Glazed, the platinum holy light dragon was in existence that could fight with Fairy Glazed. "By the way, what's Fairy Glazed's realm?" Yixian asked again. "She's already surpassed the connecting heaven realm. She's a loose immortal," Caprice replied casually. "Loose immortal?" When Yixian heard this unfamiliar term, he was slightly surprised. In his memory, the connecting heaven realm was the last realm of the connecting heaven 9 realms. After reaching the peak of connecting heaven realm stage 9, as long as you pass the immortal tribulation, you can ascend to the immortal realm. However, the passage to the immortal realm here has been closed, so no connecting heaven realm cultivator has been able to successfully ascend. Therefore, you can only break through and become a loose immortal. Caprice explained to Yixian. "Ascend to the immortal realm? Immortal?" Yixian stared with wide eyes, not daring to believe it. Yes, the immortal realm means becoming an immortal. The immortals we're talking about now are loose immortals. That glazed woman is a tribulation loose immortal. Caprice nodded. After breaking through and becoming a loose immortal, you'll face a tribulation every 1,000 years. If you fail to pass the tribulation, you'll be struck by the tribulation and your soul will scatter. Scatter the soul. Hearing this, Yixian couldn't help but gulp. Although undying realm cultivators could be revived with a soul seed, it didn't seem possible for connecting heaven realm cultivators. Not to mention loose immortals above the connecting heaven realm. Old immortal Tianju also had the word immortal in his name. It seemed that he was also a loose immortal. Previously, he had thought that old immortal Tianju was a connecting heaven realm cultivator, but it seemed that he had guessed wrong. "You were able to fight Fairy Glazed Glass before, so you're also a loose immortal?" Yixian suddenly asked. "Yes, but at that time I had just broken through and was relatively weak. That was why Glazed Glass Woman took advantage of me. When I returned to the Life Sacred Land this time, I originally wanted to find that Glazed Glass Woman for revenge, but I didn't expect her to have the backing of a Buddhist sacred land, so I had to compensate her," Caprice said helplessly. "Then what if you're discovered by joining the Glazed Glass Knights that she established?" Yixian was somewhat worried. After all, Caprice had fought Fairy Glazed Glass before. Chapter 1606. Willful said confidently. Then he looked at Yixian and said, "She might recognize you, but it doesn't matter. You don't belong to any faction, so you might be able to gain her trust." Yixian had met Fairy Luli once before. It had only been a few years, so Yixian felt that Fairy Luli should remember him. "Then where are we going next?" Yixian asked. "We're going to a branch of the Glazed Knights to participate in the assessment. It's about a day's journey." After Willful said that, he asked, "By the way, where did you put those people just now?" "You mean Ghost Dome Great Emperor and the other two? I have an independent space. They signed a master-servant contract with me so I can put them in there." Yixian replied. Can you put people in there? Willful asked in surprise. Yixian shook his head and said, not at the moment. Connecting heaven beasts can, but they can't surpass me by 5 realms. He was now at the Undying Soul Realm 3rd stage, and the planting space had been upgraded to the 5th stage, so it could accommodate connecting heaven beasts at the Undying Soul Realm 8th stage. As for humans, it was still not possible. Not at the moment. What do you need? Willful asked again. Some heavenly treasures that can increase the density of yuan qi of heaven and earth. Yixian said what he needed. That's a small matter. Willful said, then took out a sapling from his yin and yang ring and said, this is my life Saint Sex flower of life, but it's still a sapling. You're giving it to me? Yixian was shocked. He felt that this flower of life was not an ordinary thing. If he devoured it, he might be able to break through once or twice or even continuously. Take it. It's just a material for alchemy. I originally wanted to find a place to plant it and cultivate. If your space is good, then I'll stay in there and cultivate. It'll make future missions much easier. Willful threw the flower of life to Yixian. Thank you very much. Yixian's eyes lit up. He directly caught the flower of life and threw it into the planting space, then planted it next to the heavenly treasure tree. When he planted the seed, he heard the sound of a system notification. Ding! The level of the planting space has increased. It is now level 6. This flower of life was very valuable, and it directly increased the level of the planting space. Now Yixian could store the 9th stage of the Undying Soul Tong Tian beast. No, not only that. After the planting space was upgraded to level 6, it could actually accommodate humans. Haha, as expected. Yixian couldn't help but laugh in his heart. He remembered that when the planting space was upgraded to level 3, it could accept heavenly beasts. Now that it was upgraded to level 6, it could finally accept humans. This way it would be much more convenient for him. You can start recruiting now. Anyone under the reaching heaven state is welcome, Yixian said to Wayward. Oh? Let me go in and have a look. Headstrong's eyes lit up. He was currently only at the 9th stage of the Undying Soul Realm, which just happened to be at the Yixian point. Alright. Without another word, Yixian took Wayward in. Wayward did not resist and went straight to the planting space. The qi of heaven and earth is too scarce, but this place is not small. Some reaching heaven state powerhouses with the eye of space can also open up a small space like this, but it's only hearsay. No one has ever done it before. In the planting space, Wayward said. After seeing Wayward, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor couldn't help but distance himself a little, because the latter's aura made him feel fear. Wayward was a platinum holy light dragon, so he naturally didn't like the aura of death. However, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was Yixian's treasure, so Wayward naturally wouldn't attack him. Ouch, your heavenly treasure tree has withered. Suddenly, he said willfully. Yixian sank his consciousness into the planting space and found that the heavenly treasure tree and the other heaven and earth treasures had all withered. Not a single one was left. All the nutrients had been absorbed by the flower of life. After absorbing so much nutrients, the flower of life had also grown a little. Holy shit! These are heaven and earth treasures for father and the others. Yixian wanted to cry, but no tears came out. However, this flower of life clearly wasn't that simple. As long as it was here, the qi of heaven and earth would probably increase by a few levels. At that time, the heaven and earth treasures would grow several times faster and better. At this moment, the flower of life suddenly released a white light that illuminated the entire planting space. One had to know that the planting space had already surpassed the land of reincarnation before leveling up. After leveling up, it had nearly doubled in size. This light shone on the heavenly treasure tree and the other heaven and earth treasures, and they instantly regained their vitality and actually recovered. The flower of life is the main ingredient for my life saint pill. It has extremely strong healing abilities. Although the qi of heaven and earth here isn't as good as the outside world, it should be after a while. You're in charge of traveling. I'll cultivate to the peak of the imperishable realm first. After saying that, Wayward sat down beside the flower of life and started cultivating. This time their destination was Blazing Sun City. There was a branch of the Glazed Knights there, but with Yixian's speed it would probably take 1 or 2 days. During this day, Yixian's clone didn't just sit around. Now that the planting space could accommodate humans, He directly opened up an area in the east of the planting space, and then opened a teleportation gate in Lianyun City that led to the planting space. From now on, the people of the eastern continent could enter the planting space to cultivate at any time. The planting space was an independent space opened by Yi Xian, and he was the owner of the planting space. Even if a Heaven Ascension Realm expert entered, they would probably die in there. Hence, Yi Xian's second clone went to capture a large number of Heaven Ascension beasts and set up various dangerous areas in the east for the Yi family disciples to cultivate. One had to know that the Blood Rock continent and the land of reincarnation were thousands of times apart. Since the planting space wasn't small, Yi Xian asked Yi Chong and the others to call in other factions, such as the Sunflame Sacred Dynasty and the Chaotic Astral Ocean Pirates, etc. Although these places were personally set up by Yi Xian, the Heaven Ascension beasts in there weren't high realms. They were all below the imperishable realm. 2 days later, Yi Xian successfully arrived at Blazing Sun City. Blazing Sun City wasn't bad. The city lord was a Heaven Ascension Realm expert, which was already very strong for Yi Xian. Ku Bowen's Heavenly Dragon tribe was actually preparing to move to Blazing Sun City. Although they weren't going to move to the city, they were going to be in the vicinity. That way, the giant dragon tribe wouldn't dare to act rashly. Since he had already saved the Heavenly Dragon tribe, Yi Xian played the good guy again and brought them all to Blazing Sun City. Chapter 1607. Alright, let's enter the city, urged Headstrong, who had already come out of the planting space. He was actually also a member of the Heavenly Dragon clan, but not from the Penglai Sacred Land. He belonged to the Life Sacred Land. The Life Sacred Land was much stronger than the Penglai Sacred Land. Ku Bowen was also about to enter the city, so he gave the strategic information they had gathered to the Blazing Sun City Lord, so they went together. After entering the city, he parted ways with Yi Xian. He went to the City Lord's mansion, while Yi Xian and Headstrong went to the Glazed Knights branch. The Glazed Knights recruit a group of people with potential every once in a while, but they can't be more than 1,000 years old. You're lucky to have run into them. On the way, Headstrong emphasized again. Will there be any Ascension Realm experts? Yi Xian couldn't help but ask. Maybe, but Blazing Sun City is so small. Those with talent have probably gone to the big cities. We probably won't run into any here. At most, the 7th or 8th Undying Soul Realm experts will be hard to find. Headstrong shook his head. Soon, they arrived at the Glazed Knights branch and went straight in. A man in silver armor sensed the capricious aura and immediately came forward. Yi Xian was startled, because this man's realm was even higher than Headstrong's. That meant he was in the Ascension realm. Registration for the test. Headstrong glanced at him and said directly, "It's rare for a genius like you to appear here. Let's see if you meet the requirements first." The man in silver armor took out a purple crystal without hesitation. Headstrong put his hand on the crystal, but there was no reaction. No reaction. Your age meets the requirements. Gather outside the city in 3 days and send you to the test site. The man in silver armor handed a token to Headstrong, then turned and left. Hey, wait, he hasn't tested yet. Headstrong suddenly stopped him. Hearing this, the man in silver armor raised his eyebrows and said in shock, "Third stage of the Undying Soul Realm? You don't have a realm requirement when you recruit people. You just need to pass the test," said Headstrong. "That's true, but if you take someone of this realm to the test, you'll die 9 times out of 10. Fine, since you want to die, I won't say anything more." The silver-armored man took out the purple crystal again and tested it on Yi Xian. Yi Xian was not even 100 years old, let alone 1,000 years old, so he naturally met the requirements. After that, he also obtained a test token and left with caprice. The Glazed Knights need elites. If you want to pass the assessment, you have to kill an Undying 6th-stage spirit beast at least 3 realms above you. Only then can you get the bronze badge. If you can kill a 7th-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast, you'll get a silver badge, an 8th-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast is a gold badge, and a 9th-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast is a platinum badge. Capricious explained to Yi Xian. To put it simply, if you succeed in a challenge 3 levels above you, you'll be a bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. The aptitude test will be linked to the Glazed Knights training in the future. Hearing this, Yi Xian's expression changed and he said in shock, "Then if you want to pass the assessment, Won't you have to challenge a third-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast? No, one major realm is equivalent to 2 minor realms, so I only need to kill a second-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast. Capricious shook his head. That won't be easy. Yi Xian sighed. Challenging a higher realm was extremely easy for him, but for others it was not easy. However, Capricious came from the life-sacred land, and was once a loose immortal expert, so it shouldn't be difficult for him to pass the assessment. If you want to get close to that little girl, I estimate that you'll have to at least get a gold badge, which means you have to kill an 8th-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast. Can you do it? Capricious suddenly turned his head and asked. If it's a soul-penetrating heaven beast, it won't be a problem. Yi Xian nodded. If he wanted to get a gold badge, he would have to fight at least 5 realms above him. Fortunately, the assessment was for soul-penetrating heaven beasts, not humans or fiends, so 5 realms was acceptable. However, during the assessment, Old Tree probably couldn't fight. Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian should be able to, so it shouldn't be difficult to pass the assessment. Originally, I wanted to get a gold badge or even a platinum badge, but I just happened to see you and felt that you're more suitable than me to get close to that little girl, so I let you go, Capricious said. Yi Xian was shocked when he heard this. Capricious was currently at the peak of the 9th stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm. If he wanted to get a platinum badge, he would have to challenge a 5th-stage soul-penetrating heaven beast. As expected of a loose immortal, so awesome. Soon 3 days passed. After 3 days, Yi Xian and Capricious gathered outside Blazing Sun City. The silver-armored man was already waiting there. In addition, there were more than 10 fiends, whose realms were between the 5th and 6th stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm. 5th and 6th stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm were very good candidates to participate in the Glazed Knight's assessment. This was because they could learn top-notch undying divine abilities, and have a higher chance of success when challenging someone of a higher realm. There were very few people like Yi Xian who participated in the assessment at the 3rd stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm, which was why the silver-armored man looked at Yi Xian strangely. However, under normal circumstances, they would condense a soul seed before coming because once the assessment started, there was no third possibility other than killing or being killed by a soul-penetrating heaven beast. When the other 13 saw Yi Xian and Yi Xian, they couldn't help but be surprised. Capricious realm was a little unexpected. 9th stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm meant that he had to kill a 2nd stage soul-penetrating heaven beast to pass the assessment. This was no joke. Alright, all 15 of you are here. Let's go. When the silver-armored man saw Yi Xian and Capricious arrive, he immediately took out a token and waved his right hand, tearing open a spatial crack. Yi Xian and the other 15 entered and went directly to another city. Then, they were handed over to another knight. These knights are only reserved knights of the Glazed Knights. Only when they reach the 6th stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm or reach the gold badge can they be promoted to regular knights. Capricious condensed his true energy into a thread, and his voice directly sounded in Yi Xian's ears. 6th stage of the soul-penetrating heaven realm. This Glazed Knights is really powerful. Yi Xian couldn't help but sigh. Chapter 1608. About half a day later, a total of 167 examinees had gathered, including 3 super geniuses in the reaching heaven realm. Then, the knight in the lead tore through space again, bringing all 167 examinees to a new place and transferring them up 1 level at a time. It was unknown what realm the examinees would reach when they reached the final destination. Yi Xian had to go through this process 6 times. After the 6th time, he was brought to a place called the Preparatory City. At this time, more than 100,000 examinees had gathered here. The scene was extremely magnificent. Oh, this year's preparatory examination is quite impressive. Headstrong couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. With so many people gathered in a square, everyone's spiritual senses could cover the square, so their realms couldn't be concealed at all. How impressive! Yi Xian couldn't help but ask curiously. The weakest one is in the 1st tier of the Undying Soul realm, while the strongest is in the 3rd tier of the Reaching Heaven realm, Headstrong replied. 3rd tier of the Reaching Heaven realm? That means they have to kill a 6th tier Reaching Heaven realm beast. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Most of the examinees here were more powerful than him, but this had nothing to do with him. However, with so many examinees, they had to prepare corresponding Reaching Heaven beasts. The glazed knights were really rich. After all, this was a free examination. Soon the examination began. There was no order to this examination. There were small teleportation formations around the square. As long as they were ready, the examination could begin immediately. Let's go. Without saying anything else, Headstrong led Yixian to a teleportation formation and obediently lined up. A regular knight stood beside the formation. His aura was stronger than all the examinees present, and he had already reached the 6th tier of the Reaching Heaven realm. At the same time, a bronze badge was tattooed on his breastplate. The regular knight said to a genius, "What rank do you want to challenge?" This genius was in the 5th tier of the Undying Soul realm. Faced with this question, he directly answered, "Bronze." "Good going." The regular knight activated the small teleportation formation and sent this genius to a specific place. The average person would challenge the bronze emblem, and the number of people challenging the silver emblem was not even 1%. As for the gold badge, less than 1 in 10,000 would challenge it. Among these more than 100,000 people, it was estimated that there were less than 20 people who challenged the gold emblem. Moreover, this was only the preparation for the challenge. Who knew how many people could actually take down the gold emblem? As for the super genius who obtained the platinum emblem, there might not even be 1 in 10 batches. The examinees were teleported away one by one, and the number of people in the square gradually decreased. At this time there was a sudden commotion in front of them. Silver emblem. He actually wants to challenge the silver emblem. Amazing. This is a challenge that requires one to surpass 4 levels. Failure means death. So what if I die? Anyway, I have the soul seed. At most I can try again after I revive. Once I succeed, I will be powerful. It turned out that a genius who challenged the silver emblem had appeared in front of them. No wonder it set off a frenzy of discussion. "Tisk, it's just a mere silver. Is there a need to make such a fuss?" Willful said disdainfully. As he spoke, he couldn't help but glance at Yixian. After all, he wanted Yixian to challenge for the gold emblem. This was a 1 in a million super genius. Soon it was Yixian's turn. "What level do you want to challenge?" asked the regular knight, who was at the 6th tier of the Reaching Heaven state. "Gold." Yixian paused for a moment before replying. "What?" As soon as this was said, the surrounding people were shocked. Heavens, there's actually someone who dares to challenge a gold rank expert. This brat has some guts. 3rd stage of the Undying Soul realm. That means he has to challenge an 8th stage Undying Soul realm connecting Heaven Beast. Does he really have such powerful battle prowess? You can't judge a book by its cover. Maybe he's a disciple from some big power. If you succeed, then you can be a core member of the Glazed Knights and have a bright future ahead of you. The surrounding people revealed looks of envy. Some of them even regretted not talking to Yixian earlier. Once Yixian succeeded, he would have a meteoric rise. Even if he failed and died, they would not lose anything. What a huge loss. Not only the passers-by, but even the regular knight couldn't believe it. 3rd stage of the Undying Soul realm. That means the connecting Heaven Beast that is challenging the 8th stage of the Undying Soul realm. Alright, you can go in. The regular knight was also a person who had seen great storms and waves. He quickly came back to his senses. After nodding, he began to operate the teleportation array. He had seen many people challenge the gold emblem, but only a few succeeded in the end. Soon Yixian left through the teleportation array. Next, it was Capricious' turn. "I also challenged the gold emblem." Without waiting for the regular knight to speak, Capricious directly said, "What?" The regular knight was shocked again. He felt Capricious' realm and found that it was actually the 9th stage of the Undying Soul realm. Yixian challenged the gold emblem and had to surpass 5 realms. Capricious also challenged the gold emblem. Because he had to surpass a realm, he only needed to surpass 4 realms. However, Capricious was in the 9th stage of the Undying Soul realm. He had to challenge a 4th stage connecting Heaven Beast. I didn't expect 2 people to challenge the gold emblem in a row. Alright, go in. The regular knight didn't say much and directly operated the teleportation array. Capricious originally wanted to challenge the silver emblem, but he suddenly changed his mind. He was at his peak and he was also a loose immortal. How could he be defeated by Yixian? After the teleportation array landed, Yixian found that he had arrived at a strange place. Welcome to the Trial Mystic Realm. In front of you is a flaming lion with an 8th stage of the Undying Soul Realm. Kill it and you will pass the trial. In addition, external forces are not allowed in this trial. During the teleportation you have been sealed. Once you are ready, you only need to break the light barrier in front of you. The trial will only end when you kill the flaming lion or are killed by it. A pleasant voice sounded. Sealed? I don't know if this external force is referring to the power of others sealed in my body or something else. Yixian narrowed his eyes and directly summoned Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian from the planting space. Just now he had already sealed them. If he could use them, it meant that it was reasonable. However, he was restricted when he summoned the old tree. After all, the old tree was now considered a demon. Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian are enough. Yixian narrowed his eyes. Even without the help of Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian, he could complete the trial alone. Chapter 1609. Let's go. Yixian calmly stood in place and gave the order. In the next moment, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian attacked together. With a light sweep, they easily broke the light barrier. As soon as the light barrier broke, a scorching aura immediately spread out. A majestic flaming lion entered Yixian's eyes. This flaming lion also had intelligence. It knew that it could only survive by killing Yixian. Therefore, after a roar, its fiery red fur instantly burst into flames. In an instant, the entire test space was enveloped in flames. Unfortunately, Yixian had the Immortal Eye Unicorn bloodline and the Immortal Phoenix bloodline. These two bloodlines had extremely high resistance to flames. This level of flames couldn't hurt Yixian. At the same time, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian rushed towards the flaming lion. Since they shared the support bloodline, they weren't affected by the flames. The flaming lion didn't dare to believe that its flames couldn't burn Yixian and the other two. This was too unreal. In an instant, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian, who were both at the Undying Soul Realm, arrived beside the flaming lion and launched their attacks. Not only that, but Yixian also continuously attacked from the same spot. Bang! The flaming lion was bombarded by the attacks of Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian. It roared in pain. Compared to the races like humans and demons, sky-connecting beasts were too easy to deal with. They couldn't use their true chi and their methods were too simple. In less than 10 rounds, the flaming lion was killed by Ghost Dome Great Emperor. Even its soul was obliterated by Yixian's sword. Congratulations on passing the test. After the death of the blazing bright lion, the melodious voice from before resounded in the secret test room. This way, Yixian would be able to obtain the gold emblem and successfully enter the Glazed Knights. However, he had passed the test and was still not teleported out. At this time, an old voice suddenly sounded. Young man, you are very talented. You actually managed to subdue the Ghost Dome Great Emperor. When Yixian heard this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The one who spoke just now should be a specific program, but now it should be a big shot in the Glazed Knights speaking. Thank you for your praise, senior. Yixian hurriedly said. You have already passed the gold emblem test, and your reward will be given to you later. However, I would like to ask here, are you willing to challenge the platinum emblem? The old voice sounded again. Platinum badge? This? Yixian raised his eyebrows. The mission that Caprice gave him was only to challenge for the gold emblem. This way, he would be valued by the Glazed Knights. With his current realm, challenging the platinum emblem meant that he would have to challenge the 9th stage Undying Soul Connecting Heaven Beast. The flaming lion he had encountered just now happened to be of the fire element, so it was not much of a threat to him. However, if he accepted the challenge, then he would have to challenge a heaven-reaching beast of a higher level. If he accidentally encountered a heaven-reaching beast of the 9th stage Undying Soul Connecting Heaven realm, then it would be a tragedy. Although he still had the possibility of winning if he used his trump cards, the current Bladestorm and Unicorn Descent were both on cooldown, so the chances of winning were not high. Don't worry, you have already passed the gold emblem test. If you encounter any danger, I will immediately stop the test. Your reward will not change. I am only giving you a chance. It depends on whether you are willing to try. When the mysterious master saw Yixian hesitate, he immediately said, In that case, what do I have to be afraid of? Yixian's eyes lit up. Since the other party would intervene, then it would be much simpler. At most he would fail. Anyway, he had already passed the gold emblem test. Even if he failed, it would be fine. Okay, I will arrange it for you immediately. After the old voice finished speaking, a light shield appeared in the next moment. There is a flaming lion inside, but it is the king of the flaming lions. Its strength has reached the 9th stage of the undying soul-connecting heaven realm. If you can kill it, then you will pass the platinum emblem test and obtain the platinum emblem. Hearing this, Yixian's eyes lit up. This master seemed to be giving him special treatment. Wasn't the flaming lion king of the fire attribute? Then it would be much easier for him to kill it. Okay. At that moment, Yixian's lips curled up slightly. Then, he asked the Ghost Dome Great Emperor to break the light shield. Suddenly, a flaming lion king that was bigger than the previous one appeared. Roar! This flaming lion king roared. Immediately, flames soared into the sky and covered the entire test space. The power of the flames this time was more than 5 times stronger than before. Even Yixian felt a sense of pressure. If it wasn't for the Immortal Eye Unicorn bloodline and the Immortal Phoenix bloodline, he would have melted long ago. Undying Battle Soul, kill it! Yixian immediately ordered the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei awe the heavens. In an instant, the two's attributes increased by 2 folds. Although the Unicorn Descent couldn't be used, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor still had the sky-shattering meteor slash. As for the Sword Storm, Yixian didn't want to use it. This Flaming Lion King wasn't weak. It was much stronger than the previous Flaming Lion King. When the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei awe the heavens approached, they were sent flying by its 2 claws. However, when the Ghost Dome Great Emperor was sent flying, he immediately used the sky-shattering meteor slash. A dark gray sword chi slashed out, heading towards the Flaming Lion King. However, this Flaming Lion King was very fast. It instantly went around the sky-shattering meteor slash and opened its mouth, preparing to bite the Ghost Dome Great Emperor into pieces. The sky-shattering meteor slash seemed to have missed, but don't forget that Yixian had the Eye of Space. Rip! Suddenly, the space was torn apart. The sky-shattering meteor slash entered the space and came out from the back of the Flaming Lion King. Boom! The sky-shattering meteor slash struck the Flaming Lion King, causing it to suffer heavy injuries. That unique petrification ability also spread out in an instant. The Flaming Lion King cried out in pain. The flames on its body suddenly exploded, and the petrified part of its body shattered. Although the sky-shattering meteor slash hit, it didn't have much of an effect. This Flaming Lion King wasn't that easy to deal with. As for the Eye of Space, it probably wouldn't be that easy to injure this Flaming Lion King. After all, Yixian's cultivation realm was too low. As such, it would be a battle of attrition. Although the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian had activated their Undying Battle Soul, the Flaming Lion King was at the 9th stage of the Undying Battle Soul realm. Whether it was its speed or strength, it was superior to the 2 of them. Fortunately, both the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian had the Immortal Divine Phoenix bloodline. Their injuries would automatically recover. Boom! 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 In the assessment space, the sounds were unceasing. The battle was very intense. This Flaming Lion King had completely ignored Yixian because Yixian's attacks couldn't hit it at all. Chapter 1610. There was no time limit to the assessment. Furthermore, the Flaming Lion King couldn't recover from its injuries. When the Undying Battle Soul's duration was over, its body would be riddled with wounds and blood would flow out continuously. Its blood was also very unique. When it flowed to the ground, it would ignite. The entire assessment space turned into a sea of fire. Roar! The Flaming Lion King had roared countless times since the beginning. Although its attacks could severely injure the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian, the 2 of them were able to recover quickly. Up until now, the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhenqian seemed to be fine. The Flaming Lion King, who possessed intelligence, suddenly had an idea. Its large eyes suddenly turned and its gaze fell onto Yixian. Roar! After roaring, it suddenly charged towards Yixian. You finally realize that I'm the examiner. As long as you kill me, this assessment will be over. The corner of Yixian's mouth curled up slightly. It had to be said that the Flaming Lion King's reaction was too slow. It took so long for it to realize. Facing this ferocious beast that was charging towards him, Yixian calmly broke open a void door and arrived beside Wei Zhenqian. Although the Flaming Lion King's speed was fast, Yixian could still react. When the former saw Yixian disappear, it was immediately enraged. It turned around and charged towards Yixian again. Unfortunately, it was intercepted by the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian. As a precaution, Yixian left a void locator in the corner of the assessment space. Then he continuously attacked with the Void Flame Sword Wave. After the Flaming Lion King broke free from the entanglement of the Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian, it charged towards Yixian again. Eye of the Void. Yixian once again broke through the void, left his original location, and returned to his previous location. The Flaming Lion King lost Yixian's trace again and roared at the sky in anger. At this moment, the Undying Battle Soul's effect was about to end. As long as the Undying Battle Soul's effect disappeared, it would be difficult to fight. However, the Flaming Lion King was also heavily injured. As it moved, its injuries would become more serious and its battle strength would become weaker. For the sake of the Platinum Emblem, so what if he had to fight for 10 days and 10 nights? However, 10 days and 10 nights was impossible. Yixian estimated that in less than an hour, the Flaming Lion King would die in his hands. Although the way of fighting was a little despicable in a battle of life and death, to be able to kill the other party no matter what kind of despicable tricks one used, it was still acceptable. Time was ticking away. In the end, heaven-reaching beasts could not reach the top of the food chain. They did not know how to use true qi, nor could they use pills. In the end, they would be trampled under the feet of the strong. Although the duration of the Undying War Soul had passed, the Flaming Lion King's injuries had worsened after 10 minutes. Its combat power was only at 80% of its peak. During these 10 minutes, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian couldn't hurt it at all. However, after 10 minutes, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian could do the same. After another 5 minutes, the Flaming Lion King's combat power dropped by another 10%. 2 minutes later, the Flaming Lion King's combat power dropped to 60%. Now, Ghost Dome Great Emperor and Wei Zhentian could fight against it. Yixian, who was standing in the corner, couldn't help but smile. It seemed like the Flaming Lion King was going to die soon. At this moment, the entire test space was burning with flames. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been torn to pieces or burned to ashes by the Flaming Lion King. However, Yixian, who was at the Undying Soul Realm, was able to hold on until the end. Of course, if there were no restrictions in this battle and Old Tree was able to fight, the Flaming Lion King wouldn't be able to hold on for more than 5 minutes. Roar! The Flaming Lion King roared once again. Its voice reverberated in the air. At this moment, it no longer had the sharpness of its peak. It looked like it was on its last breath. A dignified king of a tribe was actually exhausted to death by such a despicable method. What a disgrace. Soon, the Flaming Lion King fell to the ground with heavy injuries, could no longer stand up. Then Ghost Dome Great Emperor swooped down from the sky and stabbed the Flaming Lion King's eyes, penetrating its head. Ding! Host's killing intent has increased. A system notification rang out. Yixian's killing intent and elegy of souls increased by a lot. An undying soul realm connecting heaven beast was indeed not easy to deal with. Even with Unicorn's deterrence, Yixian couldn't injure it. He could only use such a method to win. After the Flaming Lion King died, an old man in black armor suddenly appeared in the air. Previously, Yixian saw the bronze insignia on the regular knights outside. However, this old man in front of him had a platinum insignia. Platinum Knight. This old man in front of him was actually a Platinum Knight. Yixian was shocked. He thought to himself, what the F***ck, he's actually a Platinum Knight. The Glazed Knights were mainly divided into Preparatory Knights and Regular Knights. Regular Knights were also divided into ranks according to their insignia. Bronze Knight, Silver Knight, Gold Knight and Platinum Knight. Platinum Knight meant that this old man could challenge opponents who were 6 realms higher than him. It was too terrifying. Young man, don't be surprised. There are many Platinum Knights like me in the Glazed Knights. My strength isn't even in the top 30. The old man chuckled and then landed on the ground. Yixian was shocked. Due to the difference in realms, he couldn't see what realm this old man was at. 7th tier Ascension Realm? 8th tier Ascension Realm? 9th tier Ascension Realm? In any case, his strength definitely left him 18,000 streets behind. Greetings, senior. Yixian hurriedly cupped his fists and greeted. No need for formalities. The old man waved his hand and then said, I saw your battle. Although you used a tactic of attrition to kill the Flaming Lion King, I know that you still have a trump card that you haven't used, right? Yes. Yixian nodded in reply. He did have a trump card, and that was the Bladestorm. However, this Bladestorm had a cooldown of 3 days. It was best not to use it unless necessary. In this assessment mystic realm, if you can use it, it means that you can use it. It doesn't violate the rules. Since you can defeat the Flaming Lion King, who is at the 9th tier of the Undying Soul realm, it means that you have passed the Platinum trial. After the old man finished speaking, he took out a platinum insignia from his universe ring and handed it to Yixian. This platinum insignia is not something that can be obtained in 1,000 years. I also rose to this rank after becoming a gold knight. Yixian took the platinum insignia. He was a little excited. He wondered what kind of reward he would get after passing the platinum trial. Although he didn't know how much it would be, it should at least help him level up, right? This platinum insignia, you can bind it with your blood and fuse it with your body. This way you can identify other knights. At the same time, you can use it to send a message to your knight commander. If you are in danger, the knight commander can locate you directly. As long as the distance isn't too far, he can come and save you. Chapter 16:11. What's the position of a knight commander? Yixian asked curiously. Anyone who passes the gold test or reaching Heaven LV6 can become a regular knight. When the time comes, they will join a knight commander. Every knight commander is at least a platinum knight. After the old man finished speaking, he suddenly laughed and said, There are a total of 50 knight commanders in the Glazed Knights, and I am one of them. Now Yixian understood why the old man gave him special treatment. He wanted to take him under his wing. I see. Yixian nodded, then dripped his blood on the platinum badge to bind it to him, then put it into his body. Anyone who passes the gold test will be assigned to me. My name is Molly, and I will be your knight commander from now on, said the old man. Greetings, knight commander. Yixian cupped his fists again. Good. I didn't expect anyone to pass the platinum test this time, so I haven't prepared the reward yet. I will give it to you later. Also, anyone who passes the test can choose a mount. However, I don't think you will be interested in mounts below the Reaching Heaven realm, said Molly. Mount. Yixian raised his eyebrows. There were about 500 Reaching Heaven realm examinees in the square just now, and the strongest one had reached Reaching Heaven LV3. Even if they participated in the lowest bronze test, they would need to kill a Reaching Heaven beast of Reaching Heaven realm LV6 to pass. If Yixian requested, it wouldn't be a problem to get a Reaching Heaven beast of Reaching Heaven realm LV6 as a mount. However, it was impossible to sign a contract with such a huge gap between their realms. But what use would a mount below the Reaching Heaven realm be to Yixian, who was a platinum knight? Knight commander, forget about the mount, said Yixian as he looked at Wei Zhentian. A mount could only be powerful for a while, and it couldn't keep up with his cultivation speed, unless it had a special talent. Okay, then I will give you more rewards. Let's go. Molly nodded and waved his hand. He and Yixian appeared in a square. Only those who passed the test could come to this square. Yixian immediately sensed the crowd. There were already more than 10,000 people in the plaza. Most of them had passed the bronze assessment, and there were a few dozen who had passed the silver assessment. As for the golden knights, there were only 5 of them, and there was only one platinum knight, Yixian. These people had also fused with their knight badges. When Yixian appeared, they immediately sensed it and were all shocked. Heavens, it's a platinum knight. Platinum, it's actually a platinum knight. He surpassed 6 realms and succeeded. Anyone who passes the gold exam and above can directly become a regular knight. He actually passed the platinum exam. There are only 5 geniuses in history who passed the platinum exam directly. However, the realm of those who pass the platinum test is usually lower, so it's easier this way. The 3rd level of the Undying Soul realm is truly a good realm. The entire square was in an uproar. Then they turned their attention to Molly, who was also a platinum knight. Most of them were given the badges by regular knights. Only the 5 gold knights were given the badges by powerful people. They didn't expect Yixian to be given the badge by a platinum knight. This was quite impressive. This kid. No wonder the exam was so slow. It turns out that he passed the platinum exam again. Impressive. After passing the gold exam, Headstrong couldn't help but smile when he saw Yixian behind Molly. Originally, he set the requirement for Yixian to pass the gold exam. He didn't expect Yixian to pass the platinum exam. This was really out of his expectations. Of course, with his strength, passing the platinum exam wouldn't be a problem. However, he felt that it was too ostentatious. As for the other 4 gold knights, their realms were lower than his, but it was still not bad. After all, they were from the big forces around. Yixian also noticed Headstrong. When Molly walked up to a high platform, he directly went to Headstrong's side. Not bad, not bad. You passed the platinum exam. You really didn't disappoint me. Headstrong nodded in satisfaction. I won by a battle of attrition. Yixian grinned, then used his true chi thread to send Headstrong a voice transmission. That Knight Commander, what's his realm? Peak Ascension Realm Level 9. These people are all suppressing their realms and haven't broken through. Although they can't ascend without exception, they all have to break through and become rogue immortals. However, rogue immortals have a fatal flaw. Headstrong said. What fatal flaw? Yixian frowned and asked. After breaking through and becoming a rogue immortal, an immortal tribulation will descend once every 1,000 years. Moreover, each tribulation is more dangerous than the last. If you can't withstand it, you'll turn into ashes. Although many people have methods to delay the tribulation, if you can't, then you're dead meat. After Headstrong finished speaking, he couldn't help but pause. Therefore, once you become a rogue immortal, your lifespan will be greatly shortened. Some people only live for 1,000 years before being struck to death by the tribulation. However, if you succeed, then your strength will increase exponentially. Such a short lifespan. Yixian furrowed his brows. One had to know that Ascension Realm powerhouses could live for tens of thousands of years, but once they became a rogue immortal, they could only live for 1,000 years. Therefore, many people suppressed their realms and were determined not to break through. Yixian suddenly thought of another question. Then why is the Immortal Realm passage closed? I'm not sure. No one knows the reason. In any case, no one has ever successfully ascended to the Immortal Realm and become a true immortal. Headstrong shrugged and shook his head helplessly. After hearing this, Yixian fell silent. If he reached the peak of Ascension Realm Level 9, he didn't know whether he would directly ascend to the Immortal Realm or be forced to break through and become a rogue immortal like others. At this time, Molly saw that there were no more gold examinees in the Mystic Realm, so he directly said, "Those who pass the gold test and above, follow me." Among the thousands of people present, only 5 had passed the gold test, and Yixian had passed the platinum test. Therefore, this sentence was meant for the 6 of them. The rest of the people who passed the bronze and silver tests could only watch enviously as the 6 left. Of course, the one who made them envious the most was Yixian, the Platinum Knight. Platinum Knights were almost the highest-ranked knights in the Glazed Knights. They could obtain a huge amount of resources from the Glazed Knights to cultivate, so their future achievements would naturally not be low. As for those who passed the bronze and silver tests, they still had to join the Reserve Knights. Only by passing the gold test or reaching Ascension Realm Level 6 could they become regular knights. Chapter 16:12. Although these people's realms were higher than Yixian in terms of aptitude, they were far behind Yixian. Unless they were promoted to Platinum Knight, they would have to salute Yixian when they saw him. We are now in a city called Linfeng City. Around the headquarters of the Glazed Knights, there are a total of 50 cities like this, with 50 knight commanders acting as the temporary city lord. Molly explained while leading the way. From now on, you are all knights under my command. You can choose to guard Linfeng City or go out to carry out missions. Knight Commander, I heard that there are 5 Glazed Knights above Platinum Knights? At this time, a Gold Knight suddenly asked. You know quite a lot. That's right, Glazed Knights are above Platinum Knights. However, there are only 5 Glazed Knights in my Glazed Knights regiment. Molly nodded. These 5 Glazed Knights are very strong. 4 of them have already passed the Immortal Tribulation and became loose immortals. The last one, Lord Lin Guangyao, is still in the Ascension Realm, but he has the strength to fight against 10. Although I am at the same level as him, if we fight, I'm afraid I will be killed in an instant. Instant kill. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Yixian heard Run Xingxing say that Knight Commander Molly was already at the peak of Ascension Realm 9th layer. that Lin Guangyao should also be at the peak of Ascension Realm 9th layer. However, the latter could instantly kill the former. Wasn't the difference in strength a little too big? Knight Commander, I heard that you are also at the peak of Ascension Realm 9th layer. Why is the difference in strength so big? A gold knight asked. Although I am also at the peak of Ascension Realm 9th layer like Lord Lin Guangyao has cultivated the glazed treasured body. It is not an exaggeration to say that he can fight against 10. Molly couldn't help but pause. He continued. This glazed treasured body is the most powerful ability of my glazed knights regiment. Once successfully cultivated, one's physique will be greatly improved. Even resisting a spatial crack will not be a problem. Resisting a spatial crack? Everyone was shocked. Even Willful couldn't help but raise his brows. The destructive power of a spatial crack was almost limitless, but it could still be resisted? No, I was wrong. I shouldn't have taken it head-on. As long as you cultivate the glazed treasure body, the environment in your body will be extremely stable. If there is a spatial crack that tears your skin, you will be repelled. The glazed treasure body has a repelling effect. Although it is not considered to be a hard hit, it is close. Molly shook his head helplessly. The glazed treasure body is indeed powerful, but one has to be promoted to a platinum knight before one can come into contact with it. I've been training for 100 years, but I've only just touched the threshold. Platinum knight. After hearing this, the 5 gold knights, including Capricious, couldn't help but look at Yi Xian. Yi Xian had passed the platinum trial, which meant that he could come into contact with the glazed treasure body. However, so what if they came into contact? After all, Yi Xian was only at the 3rd level of the Undying Soul Realm. Even the Knight Captain Molly, who was at the peak of Heaven Ascension Stage 9th tier, had not been able to master it. So how could Yi Xian have mastered it? Therefore, the other 4 Golden Knights were not envious at all. They were just looking forward to it. Since Willful had decided to join the Glazed Knights, he had naturally investigated the Glazed Knights. The Glazed Knights had been established 500 years ago. In other words, it only took them 500 years to develop to the point where they could contend with the Penglai demon race in Heaven Extinction Palace. One had to admit that this glazed fairy was very resourceful. Molly brought Yi Xian's group of 6 to a few courtyards and said, "All right, the 6 of you can find a place to stay first and get used to the environment." At this moment, a silver knight suddenly walked over and handed the ring to Molly. After receiving it, Molly passed it to Yi Xian and said, "This is your reward for passing the platinum trial. It's enough for you to cultivate to the ascension stage. From now on, you can receive a batch of cultivation resources every month. As for the rest, you'll have to spend merit points. As for merit points, you can get them by completing missions." "Thank you, Knight Captain." Yi Xian took the interspatial ring and looked at it. His eyes couldn't help but light up. As expected, passing the platinum trial had great benefits. There were so many things in this interspatial ring that he almost jumped up and kissed Molly. "All right, you can get used to the environment for a few days. After that, you can take on some relatively simple missions to practice." After saying this, Molly left directly. As for Yi Xian's group, they prepared to choose a place to stay. It had to be said that the ranking system in the Knight Regiment was too strict. Yi Xian was now a Platinum Knight. If he didn't choose a place to stay, the other 4 Gold Knights didn't dare to choose first. "All right, I'll take this one." Wayward pointed at the nearest place and said. The other 4 Gold Knights were surprised, but they thought that Wayward and Yi Xian seemed to know each other, so they didn't say anything. "I'll take this one." Yi Xian pointed at the place next to Wayward's. Anyway, people at their level didn't need to sleep. Their residences were usually used for cultivation. But at this moment, a voice suddenly fell into Yi Xian's ears. "Sir, do you need me to serve you?" It was a woman's voice. Yi Xian turned his head and saw the female Gold Knight throwing flirtatious glances at him. "No thanks." Yi Xian also used qi condensation to send his voice directly into the female Gold Knight's ears. But it had to be said that this female Gold Knight was really something. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her a cow. She was curvaceous in front and behind. If he could spend time with her, it would definitely be a wonderful thing. However, Yi Xian already had 2 women at home. It was better not to pluck wild flowers. After hearing Yi Xian's words, the female Gold Knight revealed a disappointed expression and turned to Wayward. Go away, Wayward said straightforwardly. This female gold knight didn't care about Yi Xian, but even Wayward wasn't interested in her. She couldn't help but reveal an angry expression. However, she felt that Wayward wasn't a simple person, so she could only suppress her anger. Then, she turned around angrily and walked into a residence. At this moment, Yi Xian had already returned to his residence. This time he passed the platinum trial and received a huge reward. If he broke through now, it would be too ostentatious. Let's break through first. Yi Xian didn't care so much and directly devoured some of it. Ding! Host has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 4. Ding! Spirit of Ashes has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 6. Ding! Wei Zhentian has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 6. Ding! Ghost Dome Great Emperor has broken through. Currently at Undying Soul Stage 6. For system notifications sounded in a row. Yi Xian's aura immediately skyrocketed. There weren't many ores in this reward, but it was enough for Wei Zhentian and Ghost Dome Great Emperor to break through. Chapter 1613. F***ck you broke through again? At this time, a figure suddenly flashed into Yi Xian's room. Needless to say, it was Capricious. Only he would dare to trespass into Yi Xian's residence. Almost all the residences here had aura-isolating arrays. After Capricious entered, he discovered that Yi Xian had broken through. What do we do next? Yi Xian looked up and asked. Now that they had successfully infiltrated the Glazed Knights, they had completed the first step. Your realm is too low. If you want to get close to the Glazed Knights, you have to be at least at the level of Knight Captain Mali. The second step is to increase your strength, Capricious said. Then should we accept some missions? Yi Xian suggested. Of course, I also need to earn enough merit points to be promoted to Platinum Knight. But there's no rush, I've set a goal for myself of 100 years, Capricious said calmly. Hearing this, Yi Xian couldn't help but roll his eyes. What a joke, he was only 30 years old. 1 year was too long for him, let alone 100 years. Others needed to cultivate, and perhaps 100 years in seclusion would be 8 to 10 years, or even 100 years, but he had it. Instead of going into seclusion for 10 years, he might as well slit his own throat. At this time, a system notification sounded. Ding, the third round of the Dragon Slayer title quest has been triggered. Kill Guanchengya. Ranked 100 on the Dragon Demon list. Hearing this, Yi Xian paused. Previously, when he killed Death Demon Dragon Di Hui, the second round of the quest had ended. Now the third round of the quest had finally been triggered. This quest was considered easy to complete because as long as he killed those ranked 100, he would complete the quest. He didn't have to kill Guanchengya. Let's go and accept the quest. Yi Xian didn't say anything and directly left. The Dragon Slayer title not only doubled the damage to dragons, but also increased all attributes by 30%. Yi Xian was very envious. Now that he wanted to increase his strength, it was best to take this opportunity to complete the quest. Capricious followed him since he had nothing to do. They first familiarized themselves with the environment, then found the Hall of Merit. The Hall of Merit was a popular place for the Glazed Knights. There were many people here every day. After all, this was where regular knights and probationary knights received missions. Before Yi Xian and Capricious entered, they saw the probationary and regular knights saluting them. To say, except to say, to become a regular knight, to say, level. Passing by under the gazes of such experts, Yi Xian felt a sense of superiority. In Linfeng City, there were more than 100,000 reserve knights and close to 10,000 regular knights. However, the number of platinum knights could be counted on one hand. It was normal for these people to bow to Yi Xian. Brat, did you enjoy it for a while? Capricious couldn't help but ask. To say. Soon, the two of them entered the Merit Hall. To say A. After sensing Yi Xian's arrival, the knights who were accepting missions immediately stepped aside, letting Platinum Knight Yi Xian and Gold Knight Capricious take the missions first. Sir, what mission do you want to accept? A Bronze Knight from the Merit Hall asked. Let me see if there are any missions to kill experts on the Dragon Demon list, Yi Xian said. The Bronze Knight was very efficient. 2 seconds later, he gave Yi Xian a list of missions, from the 1st to the 200th. Some of the missions showed when and where the other party had appeared. Yixian glanced at the list and finally locked his eyes on the 97th place. A person called Di Kai. Di Kai was the same as Di Hui, a member of the Death Demonic Dragon clan under the Demonic Dragon Palace. His realm was at the peak of the 8th stage of the Undying Soul realm. 3 days ago he had a battle with someone in Skywave City and had a night mark on him, making it easier to trace. Him. Yixian pointed at the mission and said, Platinum Knight Yixian and Gold Knight Capricious will accept it together. Okay. The Bronze Knight nodded respectfully then said, Sir, can you choose a retainer knight to follow you? What's a retainer knight? Yixian asked in astonishment. Gold Knights can choose 1 retainer knight to follow every mission, while Platinum Knights can choose 2. The realms of retainer knights change according to the level of the mission. The Bronze Knight glanced at the mission and said, Sir, if you accept this mission, you can choose 3 retainer knights of the 1st stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm to follow you. They will guarantee your safety, but will not help you complete the mission. 3 of the 1st stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm. Yixian narrowed his eyes, then shook his head and said, No need. To him, 3 retainer knights of the 1st stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm were more like a burden. What a joke! Although Capricious Soul was at the 9th stage of the Undying Soul realm, he was still a loose immortal expert. Even a 6th stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm was an ant in his eyes. Okay. The Bronze Knight didn't say much, and directly took out a sheepskin scroll and gave it to Yixian. The mission was very simple, to kill that Di Kai and bring back his corpse. As for the contribution points, Yixian didn't look at them carefully, so he didn't care. After accepting the mission, Yixian and Capricious left the Hall of Merit under the gazes of thousands of people. The surrounding people also heard about the mission they accepted, and these knights also knew that Yixian was only using this mission to practice. Windfront City could be considered large, and there were transmission arrays leading to every city. After Yixian and Capricious left the Hall of Merit, they arrived at the Transmission Palace, and were then transmitted to Skywave City. Skywave City was about the same as Blazing Sun City from before, and the city lords were all Heavenly Ascension realm experts. When they were teleporting, the 2 of them put away their knight medallions. After all, a Gold Knight was arrogant enough to swagger through the streets. If Yixian the Platinum Knight was known by others, there would definitely be experts coming to kill him. That Death Demon Dragon Di Kai has a night tracing imprint in his body. The night tracing imprint in our bodies can track him, but my realm is low, so I'll have to rely on you. After leaving the Transmission Palace, Yixian said to Capricious, Really, if you want to catch him, then catch him at the Heavenly Ascension realm. He's only at the 8th stage of the Undying Soul realm, so he doesn't need to be so low to practice. Capricious said somewhat helplessly. His realm was higher than Yixian's, and his ability to track people with his night badge was stronger than Yixian's. Moreover, his spiritual sense was countless times stronger than Yixian's. After all, he was a loose immortal before, and although he lost his realm, his soul was still very strong.